Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast, one of the greatest podcasts to come to if you're feeling lonely. That's probably not true. I'm Johananon, the board game guru and game master extraordinaire.
It's me, Casualty CDG, the co-host of Fresh Out the Box, retired child crimes and human trafficking detective turned tabletop titan, improv comedian, and painter of Warhammer 40k orcs.
I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen. And Jahan, I truly love, I know that you do these intros, and I assume that you just don't really think about what you're going to say before, and it's just whatever rolls off the tongue.
Yep, off the cuff.
Yes, I appreciate the improvisation. And that's all I'll say about it.
Okay. Sounds like criticism, but okay.
No, of course not.
Yeah, that's a weird compliment that came out really not like a compliment.
Yeah, that compliment felt like not a compliment there, Drew.
Gary, I know you've been in the midst of a move this week, so I know that you are still working on getting your new home set up with cable and internet, but you have still managed to be here, so we appreciate your presence. Thank you for being
here. I may not have the Blue Yeti, I may not have the streaming set up, but the room is in progress, and I should have internet by right after the time this airs. So the problem should be solved quickly. We were quoted, we were told it should be this week on Monday. And then on Tuesday, an engineer came out and said, your house is wired, you're good to go, everything's great. You'll get called this week and you'll be set up and good to go. And so Friday morning I called and was like, why are we not good to go? Like, what's going on? What's the holdup? Nice. And they said, oh, we assigned your account to someone who's out sick all week and they won't be back until next week. And I was like, can we solve this today? They said it'll be 5 more weeks until we can get you going. But if you fill out this paperwork, we can start the process right now. So I called the different internet company. It was going to take 2 weeks instead. And then my wife called the first company and just let them have it. So the price is reduced and we should be squared away Monday first thing.
Well, fingers crossed. We're still going to knock out I think a couple streams tonight, so at least you will have some time after today to get all set up and get your nice cozy workspace ready to go for future streams. I know that they're missing you on the weekday tabletop streams, so but we are fortunate enough to have you here. So thanks again.
I had to imitate his characters' voices all week. Apparently, I'm pretty good at some of them.
Nice.
Can you do an impression of one of them right now?
I'm not good on the spot, but let's see. I yesterday I was doing Corporal Norman, leader at section.
Not bad.
Yeah, that one's
not bad at all.
Apparently, that one's pretty spot on. And then I also had to stop.
Voice is my Patrick Warburton impression, and so that's time. During that campaign, that's just kind of the voice I go with.
And I've gotten okay at it. I do an okay job. Good enough to know what I'm doing. You know, like people recognize me as imitating him. I also had to stop party members from like going through your pockets on Thursday.
Treating him like a corpse, going through his belongings.
Well, because like there was a whole like sleep dream thing going on. Your character was unconscious, just for sake of ease on my end. And then like they're like, let's look at his stuff. And what I had happen was I described myself. I was like a short bearded man with a t-shirt. Comes out from behind the bar and zips up his pockets. And looks at you guys and shakes his head and goes away. So like I physically transcended into the world and stopped them from. I was like, you're not robbing a PC that's not here.
You're like a good Mr. Mazixelpist.
Yeah, I'm a benevolent Mazixelpist. Yeah.
it's a good use of DM powers that I appreciate, because I still wouldn't count that as a, you're not going beyond your privileges there.
Yeah, it's not like I walked in and killed somebody.
You didn't lessen anybody's experience by protecting a player who wasn't theirs inventory.
Yeah.
Let me guess who went through my stuff. Was it Keanu Thomas?
Yes, it was Thomas that betrayed.
Yeah.
How'd you know?
That's what I thought.
It was both of our brothers that did it, and I stopped them. So,
Appreciate you. Good looking out.
No problem. I mean, it was silly. It was a really funny moment. They were laughing really hard when I popped out of nowhere.
There are a couple of pirates too, so I get it in character. It's all good and fun.
It's all good and fun.
Let's talk about something that's not role-playing games for once. I know we could do this all day.
Ooh.
And there's been no shortage of news in the past week, and just to bring it up, because at least on our platform with our friends here, and fans of Fresh Out the Podcast, but obviously this Batgirl news and HBO Max shakeup has been the talk of the town, so they say, the past week.
Yeah.
And to recap here, let's get here with a little bit of a history lesson for those that don't know. A few years back, AT&T acquired Time Warner in a big old deal, and then they renamed that to Warner Media, which has Warner Brothers Entertainment and the DC comics and HBO, and a lot of things are owned by Warner Media. And in recent times, and what was completed this year, is that AT&T decided to spin off Warner Media, and it was actually merged with Discovery Incorporated. So so now it is Warner Brothers Discovery, I believe, is the name of the company.
Which is not a great name.
Yes, and the head of Discovery is who is taking the lead now with the new merged company. So there are changes in store over there, and we're really starting to see that now. And this axing of Batgirl, which was a straight-to-streaming movie, $90 million budgeted movie for streaming, and it has already been filmed. It was deep in post-production, basically nearly complete.
Yeah, it was almost done. Yeah.
And they axed it completely. They're shelving it. It will not be released in any form. This was a movie that starred Leslie Grace as Batgirl. Michael Keaton was in this movie as Batman. J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon. Brendan Fraser was the villain playing the Firefly. So there were some big stars in this, and we'll never see it. And
never ever.
Of course, this raised a lot of speculation of the how and why, and they're saying that this is not indicative at all of the quality of the movie, that it has nothing to do with that, but instead they are wanting to focus the DC property specifically on theatrical releases. Which is a little bit scary, because I don't think this would affect their animated slate, but I'm scared for things like Peacemaker, which is a show that we all really liked and talked about a lot on this show, and that's not a theatrical property, and it's very possible it could get canceled. I don't know what's going to happen.
So I would make a counter that it's sort of a theatrical property because the character came from Suicide Squad, and I think that the Suicide Squad universe, in my perfect world, that's the one they would go forward with. Maybe Batgirl didn't fit into that universe. Maybe they didn't want to make another weird, bad, confusing movie. But I guarantee you it's some combination of quality and what they have in the future, because if it was awesome, they would release it no matter what.
Well, see,
and I'm with you. I think it probably, for them to make such a drastic decision, because to be clear, this is unprecedented for a movie of this budget to get cut like this. Back in the Miramax days and stuff, sometimes they'd have movies that were $5 million movies or $10 million movies that were much lower in budget that just weren't working, and they would cut those. That was more common. But for something of this size, to be axed like this is.
Well, so my understanding is that it doesn't have anything to do with quality, and that it, like, straight up, because they're axing it and no one will ever see it, they get a huge tax break.
Yes, that's a big reason of why that they're doing this as well. Yeah, because it will be a tax break for them.
Like a gigantic, like tens and tens of millions of dollars tax break. Yeah, it's big.
And Warner Media was in the hole, a lot of money. They were in a lot of debt. So the new head has said that that's a goal for them, is to get out of that debt. And so it makes sense. They want to spend money on the big movies that are going to have big returns, rather than making as many straight to streaming movies and things like that. So it's scary as somebody who's a big fan of HBO Max. It's one of my favorite streaming services. It has such a great movie library, and there's already been some things happening there. A lot of Max original movies, a few of them including An American Pickle, which was a Seth Rogen movie, and Super Intelligence, which was a Melissa McCarthy movie. That it was not good, but it was there. Those have been quietly removed now from HBO Max. They're not on the service, and they were Max original movies. Now, you can still view these movies. They are still available on demand. You can pay to rent them, but they are not on the HBO Max service. So it's unclear what they're trying to do here. Yeah, there's just a lot of shifting going around, and I do think, they are saying that it's not a quality thing with Batgirl specifically. There have been test screenings, and there have been varying reports that maybe it wasn't very good, or that the stakes weren't super high in the movie, that it wasn't a big old blockbuster movie. It didn't have the feel of a blockbuster movie. But also worth noting, because of so Michael Keaton plays Batman in it, which obviously the upcoming Flash movie starring Ezra Miller is supposed to be a big reset point for the DC movies, because there's a lot that goes on in that. And that movie's been pushed, and there's obviously troubles with Ezra Miller, but I don't think that will impact the release of that movie, because the insider word is that movie is actually really good. That Warner's they're very happy with that movie, but they're just holding it, I guess, until they're ready to release it.
I hope they have him run so fast that he changes actors. That's what I.
Batgirl would have to be released after The Flash, and Batgirl is apparently a Christmas movie as well. So we wouldn't have even if they did release this movie, we wouldn't have seen it until probably holiday of 2023. It would have been way far out. But yeah, so it's just a lot to take in.
It's also something that, like, having seen this year's Batman, it was fine, but this year or next year doesn't need a follow-up Batgirl movie. I'm not chomping at the bits for Brendan Fraser's interpretation of Firefly. When you say it's not high stakes, it's a character that people aren't super invested in, and it's a bad guy who no one's super invested in. You know what I mean? They're kind of taking these B-rate characters, and unless you do something really fun and exciting with them, people aren't going to care a whole lot.
Yeah, but the only good DC properties are the one with the B-side villains anyways. Like Suicide Squad.
But you're going to have to treat them the way that Suicide Squad does. You can't treat it like a serious Batman movie and expect people to care about Brendan Fraser's Firefly and what he might do to future Gotham.
I actually thought all this sounded really cool. And I don't know, man, like, they released Justice League. You know what I mean? Like, that movie was garbage.
And that's, right now with this merger, both the DC film slate and the Harry Potter slate, which is owned by Warner as well, they're all kind of in disarray. Obviously, the Fantastic Beasts movies have gotten mixed reception. This most recent one didn't do very well at the box office.
I didn't even watch it.
Yeah.
It's on
HBO Max now, so you could stream it right now if you wanted to, and none of us have seen it. And then in DC, obviously, just the Snyder debacle and everything that's on there. And there's a recent Rolling Stone article about how there was just a ton of bots that were helping lead the Snyder Cut
that was the
movement.
Craziest thing I've ever heard.
It's absolutely insane, the things going on there. So naturally, I can understand now Warner Discovery wanting to get these properties back on the right track, and unfortunately, it just takes time. Obviously, they want DC to be as revered from the film side as the Marvel movies are and everything, and they just have a long way to go. Obviously, the Batman was successful, so that's going to be its own franchise right now. They've officially confirmed the Joker sequel that's going to have Joaquin Phoenix returning and Lady Gaga playing Harley Quinn, so that's moving forward.
No, don't do that.
There's still, an Aquaman sequel, a Black Adam movie, the Flash movie. There's some things still in the works, but beyond that, it just remains to be seen. They had some other HBO Max, like the Wonder Twins and things like that they were going to do that have already been canned. We'll see what happens with things like the Blue Beetle, these other things they were working on. It's a hard time to be a fan of DC.
I heard a fun bit of trivia about the Wonder Twins, because they come from another planet, right?
I honestly don't know any of the Wonder Twins lore.
Apparently, canonically in the comics, their people become super horny during thunderstorms. Just FYI. That's canonically in the DC world.
So, Drew, I would say that it's always been a hard time to be a DC fan. Ever since like 1999, it's been a hard time to be a DC fan. And we always, the three of us, I don't know why we're hopeful. We've always been hopeful that DC this is gonna be the time when they put their foot down and they turn around and they do a 180 and they get their crap together. But it probably isn't, because it's never been that time for DC. Now, on the HBO front, it is scary, some of the things you're saying, dropping some of their originals like American Pickle, and not that it was great, but I liked it. I'm kind of a mark for Seth Rogen. And taking away some of those titles is definitely a strange decision. But HBO, for me, in my life, has, first it was like a pay-per-view boxing service, and then it was a cable service, and then everyone had Sopranos in their house, and everyone talked about Game of Thrones, and then HBO Max was in everybody's house. And I just feel like HBO is going to find a way to survive all of this and continue to produce some really good content and keep themselves relevant. But at the same time, I think there's going to be a lot more DC that we need to sift through. I don't know how many more years until it starts getting good, but I'm not looking hopeful for DC.
I mean, so, like, my opinion on the whole thing is that, like, what are they trying? I don't understand what they're trying to do, because they're not trying to make it like the MCU. They're not bringing the entire brand under, like, one person's vision. They don't have someone orchestrating a cinematic universe. They just keep giving projects out to random, unconnected people that aren't having meetings about it and expecting this cohesive thing to come out. And it's so dumb. Their attempts are laughable. But yeah, I mean,
they don't have a Feige to
exactly
kind of help guide everything. And to be fair, it's not like Feige just showed up on the doorstep and said, "Hey, I'm your Marvel guy." He was in the business for a long time and started from the bottom and really worked his way up.
Yeah, Feige's don't grow on trees, man.
Kevin Smith. Put Kevin Smith in charge of the DCU. He already wrote some Green Arrow. He's already a huge comic book fan. He knows how to direct. He doesn't have to direct the DC movies. Maybe Kevin Smith's not the best director, but let him be the mind to tie everything together. Let him be the producer to be behind the whole vision. And then let him pick some young kids to carry out the projects and see what he can come up with. At least it'll be
I wouldn't be against that. I wouldn't be against that. It doesn't, I mean, of course it matters who they pick, but as long as they pick somebody, like, until they pick somebody to head up a cohesive universe, they're not trying to make one. You know what I mean? Like,
if you pick somebody,
Smith, but
if you pick somebody like Kevin Smith, here's what I agree, Drew.
James Gunn.
I don't think James Gunn's the guy either, but
he's
I think
too much of a loose cannon. Yeah,
I think you let him keep directing stuff the whole time. Let him do whatever he wants, and let him keep doing Suicide Squad so he can have all those fun characters and tie him to your world. But yeah, you need somebody, and Drew, you're probably right. Maybe Kevin Smith's not the right guy, but he comes with a cult fan base of comic book nerds. He could absolutely come and
be like a great consultant for creative direction,
Yeah.
He's just he comes with some clout, even if his movies aren't going to be great, if you give him 3 or 4 titles, his fanboys are going to love them forever. And maybe some comic book fans will like them too.
What?
But at least they're going to be Kevin Smith hits.
So a couple things. So earlier I meant to say something. I'm so sick of seeing Joker. I'm done with it. Stopped using Joker. But what movies that DC has made that you guys actually liked? Like, which ones were good? Because, like, I don't even know anymore. Some of them are, I mean, obviously...
I liked Birds of Prey.
Yeah, that was good.
I liked Suicide Squad. And I just rewatched the first Suicide Squad, and it's really, really bad.
Yeah.
Now, are we talking like
anything
EU? I mean, 'cause, like, obviously the Nolan Batman movies were good.
Batman movies are good.
It's not treading new ground, and I like the Keaton Batman movies fine. I'm not as nostalgic for those as other people are, but they're serviceable. And same, I'm not nostalgic for the old Christopher Reeve Superman movies as well. I like the Nolan Batman movies. I like Aquaman. Been on the record there before. I think Aquaman is solid and super fun.
Of the DCEU, it is probably one of the better movies.
And I like Suicide Squad as well, as Gary has labeled it, which is a great name.
I actually thought Man of Steel was actually pretty good.
So I didn't like Man of Steel because the final act is real bad. But I do like Henry Cavill as Superman.
He's good.
And I'll defend him as Superman. I think he should play like the 65-year-old Superman with the gray hair on the sides. I think he should be Superman the rest of his life. No one else should be Superman as long as he lives.
I mean, he is pretty much perfect Superman. But yeah, I liked Man of Steel. The Nolan movies are great. And I do have some nostalgia from the Michael Keaton movies. I even liked the Val Kilmer and George Clooney ones because I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like, that was a good time. That was a good time at the movies, man. And those are some of the best.
Schumacher just wanted to make some comic book, boom pow cheesy. He knew what he was doing.
That was some boom pow, man.
Maybe he's not aged the best, but I think he did what he wanted to do.
I think that there is still a really big market for boom pow.
Yeah.
I think that Miss Marvel sort of showed us that with the first episode and the way it came in with that 90s pop art. I wouldn't be surprised to see a boom pow movie any day now. And I think something like Black Adam would be great for that because it's going to be bad anyways. So you might as well boom pow it and give it some cheese.
Black Adam looks like it's going to be super serious, though.
Yeah, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't. I think we have boom pow in our near future. I'm just waiting to see it.
And spoilers, we'll talk a little bit more in next week's podcast about the upcoming theatrical slate and Black Adam and a few things there. So there's a little tease for next week. Okay, well, we can kind of move on to some other streaming related things because I wanted to talk. First off, one more thing on the HBO Max stuff is that they have officially confirmed, because Discovery had their own streaming service, right, called Discovery Plus.
Yeah.
Which contains, my wife is a subscriber. She has a lot of shows, reality shows and stuff on there that she likes to watch. She has told me from her experience the interface on that app is apparently terrible. But there are shows and things on there that she likes. But HBO Max and Discovery Plus will be merging at some point in the next year. I think around next summer it's supposed to happen. It is unclear if this combined service will still be called HBO Max, or if it'll just be called HBO, or if it'll be called HBO Discovery, but we're likely going to see a new service come from these.
HBO Discovery Max Plus Prime Edition.
I mean, HBO Max, we're a little used to it now, but when it launched, there was a little bit of confusion because there was, HBO Go and what was the other one? HBO Go, and there was another HBO app for if you weren't a subscriber. I can't even remember what it was called.
Yeah.
But they had those, and then HBO Max, and it was confusing. What's the difference between HBO Max and HBO Go? And then a lot of AT&T subscribers got HBO Max as part of their subscription, and they have it. They never even log into it. There's like a lot.
I have Hulu, and then I have HBO through Hulu. But if you open Hulu, you don't have like even 1/10 of the options of the HBO library. You just have like a scoop of HBO stuff. So then you have to go open the HBO Max and click open through subscriber and then pick Hulu and then open through Hulu through HBO so that then you can look at the HBO stuff. So I would have to think that HBO Discovery Max Plus Platinum Edition is going to be the same, where all of a sudden titles just aren't going to be there anymore.
Yeah, and because HBO is one of our favorites. We always bring it up. We always put it like in a high place as stream service. So I am worried. I hope it comes out decent, but I am worried about this, man. I really like HBO Max, and I want it to stay good.
Right, and I think HBO just has such a recognizable brand. I'm not even against them renaming it HBO Discovery, can be the name, but keep most of the HBO Max interface and everything, and just have it be when you open the menu, just like there's a DC tab and a Harry Potter tab, put a Discovery tab, and if you go there, that's where you can watch your 90 Day Fiancé or, you know, whatever reality shows you're going to go watch on Discovery Plus, and put those on there. I don't know. I just still want it to be a primarily, you know, movie and prestige TV service, because
it really looks. I mean, they're talking about, like, a lot of the talk has been they want to focus on Discovery's unscripted show stuff, and it's just why? Who's interested in that? Like, two people. I don't know, man. It's just it sounds like a lot of bad business decisions going on, in my opinion.
Yeah, it just remains to be seen. So all we can do is sit back and watch. But the streaming landscape's very interesting right now, you know, because obviously there were some stumbles in the stock market with things that happened with, you know, Netflix here recently, and there's just been a lot of talk. They're getting an ad tier within the next year for Netflix. They're doing the password crunching down. Disney Plus is supposed to get an ad tier. Disney's been hesitant to, you know, I think at some point it's probably going to happen that they're going to buy out the rest of the stake in Hulu, and Hulu will just be merged into Disney Plus. Like, maybe there will be a Hulu tile on there.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're waiting on. They should just go ahead and do that to help the Disney Plus growth, because Hulu, I think, has somewhere in the realm of like 40 plus million subscribers, whereas Disney Plus is in the hundreds of millions to 200 million range. And so I just don't understand why. I mean, I get that it's a lot of adult content, but in other parts of the world, the Hulu stuff is already part of Disney Plus through the Star add-on. So it's all confusing, but it's just
it is all confusing.
Just so strange. But speaking of,
have you guys, either of you, watched the Streaming Wars South Park series yet? The 2-part? Okay, you guys. I'll remind you at the end of this, but that'll be your homework next time, is to watch both of those on Paramount Plus, because they tackle the streaming wars in a hilarious, you know, South Park way. And I'll continue to defend that South Park has gotten better. It's gotten much, much better again. These short style movies they're doing are very funny and very, very relevant. The streaming wars, you should check them out.
Fair enough. That is appropriate homework. I will take on that challenge. Actually, this weekend there's a lot of different things that have dropped content-wise that's worth checking out. But it's like, man, the fact that, again, we'll talk about some of the upcoming movies and theaters and stuff next week, because it's a topic that I want to touch on. But there's a lot of space for things to be spaced out this month, and instead there's a lot dropping this weekend. So obviously we had Prey, was on Hulu. It's a Hulu original. It's the newest entry in the Predator franchise, and you know, it was developed by 20th Century. This is part of you know, the Disney acquisition, but they put it on Hulu, and I can say from having seen it, and Jahan, I know you've seen it too, totally worthy of having been in the theaters, but it wasn't. But not that I didn't enjoy watching it at home.
It could have been good on screen, yeah. I only had some minor issues with the CG animals at times were not the best, but yeah.
We'll get into it. Let me rein it in. Another interesting thing is there's a movie that just came out on Amazon Prime Video called 13 Lives, and I actually reviewed this movie for our friend Shantaj Bohr for Nerdtropolis.
Is it about a cat?
No. The cat have 9 lives. not 13.
Oh, is it about a lucky cat?
Actually, there is going to be a movie I'm going to talk about a lucky cat, ironically. But no,
What have I
13
done?
Lives is an MGM produced movie that, as part of the acquisition where Amazon purchased MGM, this movie, instead of getting a theatrical release like it was supposed to, it got a 1-week limited theatrical run, and now, as of now, is streaming on Prime Video. And this is a Ron Howard directed movie. Ron Howard of Apollo 13 and his most recent is Solo: A Star Wars Story and things like that. Big name director. And this is the real story of the soccer team, the young soccer team that was trapped in the caves in Thailand. That the real life rescue that went into getting these kids out of the cave, the Thai K rescue. And this is
And they got saved by a lucky cat?
No. So anyway, this movie stars Viggo Mortensen, Colin Farrell, Joel Edgerton. Has big stars in it, and I will say it's really good. I really enjoyed it. If you were not familiar with the story and these boys and how they were rescued, it's pretty fascinating. If you followed the news at that time, you may know, but if not, I won't even spoil it here because it's worth watching it. It's a really great dramatization of this real life story of these boys that were trapped in a cave. They were in there, several kilometers in. A monsoon came in, so the caves quickly flooded. They were stuck there. The Thai Navy SEALs couldn't even get to where they were because it was so difficult to swim through the caves to get there. And so they had to call in these cave divers to come and do it. And they didn't even reach the boys until day 10, and they were still alive. And had to figure out how you're going to get these boys out when it's a 6.5 to 7 hour swim from where they were to get them out.
That Thailand Navy SEALs couldn't do.
Yes. So
It's the 7-hour swim in pitch black after 10 days of not eating.
yes.
Yeah. I guess it would be interesting. So I knew a lot about this. I haven't seen the dramatization, but I did. I kept up with it on the news. I saw.
Did you watch The Rescue by any chance?
I watched a documentary.
Yes, there's a documentary that came out last year called The Rescue.
It's called The Rescue. I watched that.
Yes.
And so I'm familiar with oh my god, it's a crazy story. Seeing it for the first finding all this stuff out for the first time through a dramatization would probably be pretty interesting. So I should probably check this movie out. But yeah,
I've seen the documentary as well, and I think the documentary is the only thing working against this new movie, 13 Lives, because if you've seen the documentary, you know what happened. However, I think the movie is still really well done, and if you're familiar with what happened, watching how they recreated it and how accurate it is to what really happened is pretty impressive. So in my mind, it's instead of looking at the two as competing against each other, just consider them to be a good pairing. You can watch The Rescue in Disney Plus to be streamed through their I think it's through the Nat Geo tile. It's actually directed by the same people that did the Free Solo documentary a few years ago, which was also very good. And then 13 Lives, it's streaming on Amazon Prime Video. I really liked it. I recommend you check it out. It's a shame that it's getting dropped there. I was lucky enough to go see it in a theater, and it was a good experience. And most people will see this movie on streaming if they see it at all, because again, this is dropped on streaming the same weekend as Prey and the same weekend as Bullet Train, which is in theaters now, and the same weekend as a movie called Luck that dropped on Apple TV Plus this weekend.
Is that one about a lucky cat?
it is about a lucky cat. Yeah.
So I wanted to bring this up just because, having listened to some insiders talk about this, I think it's a pretty fascinating topic, just for something to be on the lookout for. So Skydance Pictures, is a production company, and they have recently created Skydance Animation in recent years. And this is the first Skydance Animation movie to be released. And Skydance Animation has a partnership with Apple TV Plus, so their movies will release day and date on Apple TV Plus. What's interesting here, and I'm not getting into the politics of it all and the things, I'm just going to list the facts. Which is a few years ago at Pixar, John Lasseter, who was the pretty much the guy behind Pixar, right? He directed Toy Story and Toy Story 2, directed, I think, most of the Toy Story movies, the Cars movies, and he eventually became the head of Disney Animation, not just Pixar, and was kind of the brains behind a lot of their animated projects here in the last couple of decades, and had a big hand in that. And he recently stepped down from Disney and Pixar just a couple years ago due to some inappropriate conduct allegations. Apparently he was a hugger and, would make people uncomfortable. Like, he likes to give hugs.
He was a sky dancer. He was sky dancing on people.
And would make people uncomfortable. And so when those allegations came up and things, he stepped down from his position. So considered obviously a somewhat problematic figure. And after that happened, he did get hired by Skydance Animation. So he is working for them now. And they were already in production on this movie Luck that dropped on Apple TV Plus this weekend. So I think he came in and kind of helped to get it back on track. And it is, a pretty serviceable animated movie. But apparently whatever Skydance Animation is working on next has had John Lasseter working on it from the ground up. And the insider word is that it's supposed to give, the things that Pixar's been doing in recent memory a run for their money. So it's just something to be on the
there's,
for.
The newest Pixar stuff, the most recent Pixar stuff has not been my favorite of the Pixar stuff. I didn't love Luca and the newest Lightyear. I didn't go see it in theaters. Wasn't very interested to. I know I can see that on Disney Plus now. That's one of the other things that came out this weekend, right? This week. But it's horrible to hear that it might have been the rapey guy who made it good.
Right. And so, that's why I don't want to get into thoughts on it, but at the end of the day, he has a job and he's working on animated content still.
And the job is with a movie called Luck, and the title couldn't be more appropriate for him.
So that movie is on Apple TV Plus.
Personally, I haven't been able to enjoy a movie since they locked up Weinstein. Thank God for this guy. Right?
So Luck is about it's about where luck is made. It's about a super unlucky girl who actually stumbles upon
her uncle keeps hugging him.
An unlucky girl who stumbles across this creator at the Pixar studio.
She goes to where luck is created, and there's dragons and unicorns and leprechauns and black cats, and that's how luck is distributed, and that's all that it's about. Anyway, I just here's why I'm saying this is that the movie's out, it's all right, but I just want to say, if you want to watch it, you can. But just know, that who's operating on the table. If that makes sense.
I had forgotten about all this, but I had read about this before the podcast, and I was like, we should talk about this on the cast. But I'm glad you brought it up because it's really weird. I don't know, man. Like, some people don't need second chances, and among them are accused sexual assault. Old white guys. He doesn't.
He's got the touch.
He's got, apparently.
Oh no!
Jesus Christ! That one slow rolled on me there. Like, oh boy.
But if you're able to watch the movie with an objective point of view, I don't know. Not everybody, of course, is able to remove themselves from that, and of course, why you shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
But it is out there and everything. But let's get into Prey, which, Gary, I know that you have not had access to all of the services in the past week, so you are welcome to chime in or listen as you please. If you don't want to be spoiled on this movie, we won't. We can avoid that. I will say, though, it's a Predator movie. I don't really know how much can be truly told.
Oh, I know it's a Predator movie because I watched it this morning.
Okay,
yes,
cool.
I was hoping Oh, this is exciting. This is exciting.
This is exciting. We all watched it. Yeah.
So I was able to get my neighbor. He's a PC gamer. And so I told him my plight. I told him I had no internet. I was quoted 2 to 5 weeks, and told him I was a streamer and begged him if I could use his Wi-Fi. And he's out of town this weekend, so he set up like a guest Wi-Fi password and let me on his Wi-Fi. So that's why I'm here streaming. That's why I saw Prey, and that's why I've gotten to get a little video game fix.
The things that we will go to, the lengths we will go to be able to podcast and stream with our friends. I appreciate it. I'm honored. I'm flattered.
I went upstairs and met the lady upstairs, and she invited us inside, showed us her place. Like, she was like, yeah, sure, you can use my Wi-Fi. But hers just doesn't connect down here. So I've actually met all the neighbors and asked them all if I could use their Wi-Fi network.
Nice.
So
you owe people cookies.
Yeah, just imagine this like giant 6'3" bearded fat guy like pounds on your door like, yo, I used to be a police officer. Can I use your Wi-Fi?
I would push
People
you
are
down
like,
the stairs.
Yeah, they're like, no. It took some convincing. I had to engage Operation Friendship.
Well, perfect. Well, then we'll pray. Let's get into it. Jahan, you had started to talk about it earlier, so let's start with you. General thoughts. What did you think of Prey?
Overall, general thoughts. I liked it. It kind of surprised me with how good it was. It was like up there. It was better than Predator 2. You know what I mean? And it was arguably better than AVP 1. Definitely better than AVP 2. I guess we can rank them all later, but it was up there with like the Schwarzenegger, man. It was pretty fun. It was a good movie. I liked what was going on. I enjoyed it.
Gary, how about you?
Hands down, without a doubt, the best Predator movie.
Nice.
Period. 100%.
I would say I thought this movie was really good, which just by saying it's really good by default makes it either the number 1 or number 2 Predator movie, depending on how you want to order it, depending on where
correct.
the Schwarzenegger movie
only
stands
one
in your rankings.
There's only one I haven't seen, and it was the one that came out before this one. I don't remember what it was called.
The Predator.
The Predator.
So there was Predator, Predator 2, and then Alien vs. Predator. I believe the sequel to that was Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Does that sound right?
Yes, correct.
And then there was Predators.
Yeah.
And then The Predator.
And now
we have
Prey.
Prey. Yes, and I would agree. I do like the original Predator a lot, and I've seen it several times, so it's always...
It's so good!
Kind of embedded in my memory. And I think that if I didn't have a little bit of nostalgia for it, I would say that Prey is without a doubt better, but I mean, it's up there. I thought Prey was very good. I thought that the Predator himself looked really great and moved really great, and all the action with him was great. Jahan, you did touch on this earlier, and I don't know if this was a budget thing because they knew it was going to be going to streaming or what. I did think some of the CG animals were a little wonky at times.
Not the best.
That's like a small nitpick. I just wanted to go back to that since you'd mentioned it earlier. But yeah, I thought it was really good. It moved. It was like a quick, hour and 35 minutes or so. I mean, it was like, so it moved well. It didn't linger longer than it had to. I don't know, man. I was all in on it. Worth noting the first movie in history to be released with a Comanche dub, if you want to watch it that way. Thought that was pretty cool.
What? That's dope.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they really did their homework and everything with the Comanche backstory and the things there.
It stars an actual native person.
Yes.
I believe
I noticed the ways that the Comanche were shooting their bows was not the Western English archer way that we were all taught growing up. They were shooting with their right hand over like claw shot. Which is the more traditional Comanche shot, which I really appreciated that.
That's pretty. They did a lot of cool stuff like that, and yeah, the lead actress, she is, I believe, of the Sioux Nation in real life.
So just to echo and to repeat everything what you guys have already mentioned, the CG animals. So the scene in particular that stuck out to me was there was a close up of a CG ant. And I was like, what is the point of this stupid shot? I thought they were going to pan up to the forest. Then the ant climbs onto the invisible predator's foot.
Yeah.
And a mouse runs up and eats the ant off. And I was like, okay, that's why they did a dumb CG ant. And then a snake jumps across the predator and eats the mouse, revs up on the predator. He cuts the snake's head off and spine. Just absolutely, like, went from cheesy CG to at the end of it, I was like, that was awesome.
That's pretty
like,
cool.
I don't know how else you're supposed to shoot that other than cheesy CG. That was so cool.
Yeah, some of their storytelling tactics were really interesting. Some of the ways they showed, like, the rules were interesting, for sure.
The way they introduced the main character, bro, they didn't even have to use words. Just in, like, that first montage, you can tell that she's a healer, she's a hunter, she's skilled at running,
badass,
climbing. Her and her dog work together great as a team. You learn all of this in like 25 seconds, and you know they don't have to sit down and hold your hand and tell you.
In an early scene, she's practicing her axe throwing on the trees, and some of the axe throwing she did in these spins and throwing it side on, I was like, this is the coolest axe throwing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was really dope. It was
the first 5 minutes of this movie.
It was so spiced up. Like, it wasn't like I could throw an axe, you know what I mean? Like, anyone could throw one. Not necessarily going to stick in anything, but she was like doing weird trick shots and like spin. It was so cool, man.
Let me ask you guys a question. I always think it's hard for like a slasher film for a new character to develop like a weapon that is their weapon that really sticks out. I think that the lead character of this movie had a weapon that was her weapon, sort of classic.
Tomahawk rope? Yeah, man, that was cool.
Yeah, the tomahawk on a rope, right? I didn't have to say it. You know what I was talking
about. Yeah, I knew what you're talking about.
I loved seeing her make the rope and then actually practice with it, and these things almost sound like, oh, we see her make a weapon and practice with it, like almost sounds tedious, but it works so well in the movie and the way that the montage works. And actually the way that she would throw the axe and then pull it back to her with the rope reminded me of the PS4 God of War game where Kratos would throw an axe and it didn't have the rope, but he could command it back to him. And that's what it reminded me of.
It reminded me of Scorpion. She
Yeah,
reminded me of Scorpion.
yes.
I even made a joke. I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if she became future Mortal Kombat DLC, because they do put killer people from stuff, and you know what I mean. This woman fought a predator. Like, she would be a dope Mortal Kombat character.
She 100% would be a dope Mortal Kombat character and has every right to be added to that franchise.
Nah, man, strong female lead. It was sick. And one of my favorite move that she did, I think she did it twice. She did it while she was practicing, where she does like a weird, like, backwards sideways kick and hits the tree and like comes off of it in like a really cool direction. She did that when she was sliding down a hill at one point, and it was sick. I want to just put that on the record too.
The fight
her
scenes.
the actress's name is Amber Midthunder. I just wanted to give her a shout out because
a badass name.
Yeah, Midthunder is her last name, and she was great. And she's been around for a while. She's been acting for a while. It looks like. I'm just scrolling through some of her credits, and it looks like she's going to be in the live action Avatar: The Last Airbender that is being made for Netflix. Is that right?
She's going to be a waterbender.
She plays Princess Yu. Does that sound right?
She plays Princess Yue?
Yes, Yue. Princess
The Moon?
I'm not familiar.
Hell
with
yeah,
Avatar:
dude.
The
She
Last Airbender.
she played in Princess Yue. Like, she voiced her?
No, she
She's
will be
playing
in the
her
live action.
Oh, she would be a great Princess Yue. That's sick. Yeah, because they're
That's
actually
why I said-
casting them with their appropriate ethnicities this time around, instead of making.
That's why I said she'd be Water Nation immediately. I was like, she's Native American, she'll be Water Nation.
Yeah, the
she's the
waterbenders are all
Moon.
natives. Yeah,
She's a big deal. That's awesome. Good
That
for
is
her.
awesome. Good for her.
us. What a world.
what a time to live. Yeah, the casting in this was great. I do want to talk about it. Like, I'm not positive that everyone was native. But everyone was definitely not white. The only white people, which I thought was hilarious, were like shitty, gross, like sweaty, fat Frenchmen.
And we can all hate the French. I love that. I love that we can all hate the French together.
Like, they even made him speak French, like, grossly. Like, he was like, you know, like he was such a dick with it. I don't know. I enjoyed it. You know how I feel about these things.
Let's talk about the Predator himself, because even though he had some advanced technology, I believe this all took place
1772.
Yeah, I was going to say 300 years ago. And so the Predator is still technologically advanced, but doesn't have, the full armor and things like we've gotten used to see with other Predators. He had a little bit more of a...
basic setup.
Yeah, like a little bit...
so that's an interesting thing to talk about. Because
yeah, it is. That's lore, baby.
Yeah, there is lore, and there is, there are rules. Like, the Predators have a whole culture and stuff, and, like, it's hinted at, and you can extrapolate it from, like, things you see. But, like, are they less advanced, or was he only allowed to bring a certain class of weaponry because of the development of the place he was coming, And that's a cool thing to wonder about, in my opinion.
And
also, there are Predators...
Yeah, his helmet was different.
There are Predators who use almost the more weapons you use, sort of the more frowned upon the kill is. If you go out there and kill everything with your bare hands, then you're a hell of a Predator. If you go and blow everything up with a missile, then you have no skulls to bring back. And so this sort of stripped down barbaric Predator is almost a way of saying, like,
so cool.
It's almost his rite of passage, the same way it was the main character's rite of passage. He was just stripped down and trying to do it with his bare basics. And I love that
his mask.
His mask was
it almost looked like a skull. Yeah, and but it still had tech in it. Like, he still had his thermal vision, and it still had the the classic aimer and everything like you're used to seeing with Predator. But just the design of the mask, I loved that kind of primitive looking mask for him too.
I think it might have been a skull that was like adapted into a technological helmet, because it did look very much like an alien skull.
I assume. Yeah.
I liked that this Predator only used the weapons that his prey was using.
Yes.
When he first showed up, it showed him fight a wolf, and he fought the wolf with his bare hands. Then he fights a bear. In the water, he fights the bear with his bare hands and kills it. When he comes across the tribe of natives, they use bows. Then his aimer comes up and shoots crossbow bolts back at them.
Yes.
So now that they're using bows, he uses bows. And then it makes a note that shows his scanner scan their spears, and then his arm blades come out, and he starts using his blades against them. When he starts fighting the French, they net him. Then he scans and he nets back with a way stronger net.
But still a net, yeah.
What a great kill in that.
The way you're talking about it, because, like, yeah, I noticed it too. Like, it seemed like he was trying to stay on even, but it almost sounds like the way you described the blade that maybe it was locked until his scanner picked up equivalent weaponry, and, like, you know what I mean?
It could be something like a lock, and maybe I'd have to watch it again to see if it looks like an unlock function or something, but to me, for sure, it read as my watch through and knowing a little about the Predator lore, it came across as he wanted to have an even fight against everybody.
Yeah.
And even to the point when the main character stepped in a bear trap. He didn't get her while she was down.
Yeah.
This particular Predator was about a fair fight. Maybe not every Predator ever is, but this one certainly.
It's true. Sometimes they're not, but throughout all the lore in the movie, you find out Predators are individuals, man. They're not. They have personalities. They're all very different, and the way they express those personalities is always so interesting without dialogue. Because they're all about, like, some of them, I don't know, man. Some of them are all about that vendetta life. Some of them just want a fair fight stuff. But yeah, it was cool to watch the escalation from Snake to Wolf to Bear, and then he was like, you know what? I think that these people are actually the most dangerous thing. And he started hunting people, and that first fight with the Comanche War Party and the Predator was just bananas. It was bananas. And, like, they gave him a decent throw, man. They gave him a good fight, and it was cool.
When the fog would come in and then Predator was jumping from treetop to treetop above them, like, it looked so cool. I didn't even question, like, where'd this fog come from? And then how come it's not in this next scene? Like, it didn't bother me. Like, it just looked so cool. I was all about those cool visuals.
It's another...
Where the Arnold Schwarzenegger Predator movie, I think, is a classic 90s action romp with great one-liners and some great characters and good kills. I think that Prey is a thriller, and it's an action thriller, but Predator is about to kill you the whole time. And it felt kind of like in Arnold's Predator, like, you know, you knew they were going to Rambo it out the whole time. In this movie, you didn't know who was going to die. Predator was just killing everybody. He was a slasher. Straight up slasher movie, tons of great kills.
I would
agree. There was some of the best Jason kills. I mean, there was some really good Predator kills.
There were some good Predator kills in this. I would agree. Had one of the first things in Arnold Schwarzenegger's Predator movie not been a de-skinned human being hanging by his feet from trees. Like, I feel like that definitely gave some, and especially because that was the first one, and we didn't know. You know what I mean? We didn't know what that thing was. And it's definitely hard
to Jesse Ventura chewing tobacco, though. And
I'm a sexual Tyrannosaurus.
That's exactly right. So it sets a different tone.
That'll never die in my mind.
Prey does not have the sexual Tyrannosaurus tone.
No, but I mean, you know, I don't know, man. That movie fucks real hard, though. I like the escalation. Like, the escalation is pretty consistent. It goes, like, he's doing all this animal stuff. I thought it was really cool, like, the buffalo scene. At first, I was confused, because I was like, why would the Predator even do that? You know what I mean? And then you find out that it was the French trappers, and...
Gary talking about the escalation of the Predator and using his weapons actually makes me like all that a lot more, because I didn't even realize that, but you're totally right.
You didn't really... Yeah.
And then... I will say an advantage to this movie being on streaming on Hulu is that there was one of the confrontations between the Predator and the main character towards the end had some really cool movements and things in it that I watched and I actually did rewind back and watch it again. So I liked that I was able to do that in this case. Let me ask y'all this, because I did see some pushback on Twitter about the green blood. Did you all have any issue with the green Predator blood, the neon green blood?
Why would I? I don't know. Why would I? Is it not supposed to be? I thought it was dope.
I thought it was awesome. I thought it was completely awesome.
It didn't bother me at all. I saw some people complaining of, like, the cheesiness of CG green blood, or maybe it was a little bit excessive. Didn't bother me at all.
I don't even think it was CG. It was just green blood. I don't know. I had no issue with it, because their blood is green.
I also really liked the way that they used, the Predator blood. He bled a little bit more through the movie as it went along, and really, during the last fight, you could see that he was bleeding coming into it, the same way that the main character had weakened the mountain lion for her brother. Her brother had weakened the Predator for her, and they sort of killed it together. And both of them had become the war tribe chief. And it was just cool to, seeing his blood the whole time. The whole movie is red blood, red blood, red blood. And there's sort of this leaning point during that final fight where it becomes green blood, green blood, green blood. And she comes back just covered in green blood, the same way her brother with the same face paint had come back covered in that red blood.
Yeah, she did it with... I loved her face paint that she did with the green blood. I thought that was sick.
I thought it was visually super striking, that green blood in contrast to the red blood.
I agree. I just wanted to check because I had seen some pushback there.
It's a weird complaint,
right
bro.
there with y'all.
Weird complaint.
If their biggest complaint...
you know what Twitter is. They'll
say anything. People just want to have opinions. Some of them even make podcasts.
If Twitter's biggest complaint is the color of the blood in Prey, then I'll take it.
Yeah.
Prey was great. Absolutely amazing. Killer performances across the whole cast. Great kills from the Predator. Predator looked awesome. The way they tagged it into this Native American rite of passage to be hunted by a creature instead of just hunting
that hunts
something
you back, yeah.
Yeah, to actually feel the fear of being hunted by something that hunts you back, and she just happened to choose the predator.
Yeah, she did. I really enjoy. Yeah, I do really enjoy how they kind of parallel told the Predator story through this Comanche rite of passage, because that's what predators are all about. They're out there proving themselves and they only hunt things that hunt. Like they will
That's
not.
right.
And so and they explain that through the native peoples, and it's just so cool. The parallels there, and there's some of the. What was your favorite action sequence? Because there are so many good ones to choose from. I really like the first encounter. That was such a cool fight. The fight with the trappers during while they're tied to that post actually got really, really cool. And then obviously the final
trappers popped out of the ground.
I wasn't expecting that, man.
Yep, me either. That's when it got me too. I
did not see that coming at all. I thought that he took care of him. I was like, oh, he got him, and then he's gonna do something here. But nope.
No, I'd probably say the climax fight was, to me, because I just felt like it did such a good job of tying in everything that had come before it. The movie had such a great steady escalation and introducing new things, and then it all kind of ends with the main character using all of those things back against the Predator.
She had noticed. Yeah,
just such a good build and culmination that I don't know. I think the final fight, because like I said, I even went back and rewatched part of it again.
Yeah, the way she won that fight, I'm not going to spoil it, but it was really, really clever, and it came from observation that she had. The only thing that I don't know, maybe you guys noticed, I don't know exactly how she came to the conclusion that it couldn't see people that ate that stuff, because to me the guy was just playing dead.
I know how. She had given that to that guy.
She had.
He was alive, and then got to see through the mask and saw.
Oh, she saw through the mask.
That he didn't have a thermal signature. So she's like, oh, so it makes you, even though you're alive, it brings your body temperature down, so it looks like you're not alive. That's what I saw from it.
I think Predator still had the mask on at that point.
I do too.
I think got it back.
She took it off when
she saw. I know that she was able to see that he didn't, or maybe she felt him and knew that he was cold or something. There was some way she found out that by taking that.
Yeah, he said, I'm freezing cold, and Predator was going in and killing anybody who was still alive and didn't kill that guy.
Oh, was he going through and killing people that were still alive?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes sense then. That makes sense.
And then he accidentally ended up stepping on the guy, I think, when the guy screamed.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Through the mask when that happened, and I think he got it back.
No, because what happened was she took the stuff, she cooled off her body temperature, and she snuck up behind him with the pistol and shot him in the back of the head, and that knocked his mask off, and then she took the mask. That's what happened. Just FYI. That's the order of operations there. But yeah, no, the fact that he was executing people that were still alive. I
know that all three of us just watched this movie, but I would swear the order of operations was brother rode up on a horse and smacked the crap out of Predator in the head, and Predator's mask fell off.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yes,
you're right.
And that's when she snagged the mask.
That was sick too. I forgot about that whole sequence. That was dope. Cause the puppy was in danger, and I was very upset.
So, it's super cool. Everyone, there's this whole American Wild West cowboys and Indians thing that we all think growing up, but horses aren't native to North America. Native Americans didn't have horses in their culture until after all the westward expansion. So I understand this need to see, the Cherokee people on a horse, and then the brother, the first time he sees the horses, he's like, I gotta get me one of those horses. Then all the horses get cut loose, and he's like, hold on, I gotta go get a horse. And I'm like, yes, come on. He loves this already. It's like his motorcycle, right? Then he comes back with the war cry on the horse with the spear, beats the ever-living crap out of Predator with the war cry, circling the camp back and forth, stab, jab, just rips him apart.
It was a good fight, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it gave us, sort of that classic the Cherokee people did have a great bond with horses. It just didn't come till later. And because of that time setting, they wanted to keep it sort of historically accurate, I think. So they gave us a really good piece of both, where people like me aren't questioning why they had horses.
Yeah.
Because he just got his horse from the French. But he does have a natural bond. Just great. Absolutely. There were layers and levels to this movie where they took their history seriously. They took the Predator lore seriously. The action was great. It's just, what an absolutely fantastic time with Predator. This wasn't a Sony cash grab for a Predator.
This was a pleasant surprise. This was a pleasant surprise.
And I think some credit, he has a story by credit, but the director, Dan Trachtenberg, I think is kind of a big nerd, which is great for something like this. This is only his second feature film that he's directed. He directed 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is also a very good movie. But he's been around for a while, and he's one of those guys that kept getting attached to projects that wouldn't work out. Like at one point back in 2013, he was supposed to direct the film adaptation of Y: The Last Man, and then that got canceled, and he had to move on to something else, and they eventually made that to a TV show that only just came out like last year, because that was just...
It already got canceled.
Such a cursed project. And then he did 10 Cloverfield Lane, and then after that, at one point, he was one of the people set to direct the Uncharted movie, and then he was only attached to that for about 8 months before he left.
That's on Netflix now, too.
So yeah, and so then finally he got to do Prey, which I'm glad that he did. This ended up being the perfect project for him, obviously, with how it turned out. He also did direct...
It seems to me like he was able to dodge a couple of bullets, though. He was able to direct 2 good ones and dodge some fire.
Mm-hmm. Well, he directed the pilot for The Boys, so he's been involved in some TV shows. He's directed an episode of Black Mirror. He's been around. I guess
those are all good credits, yeah.
2011, he did a short film called Portal: No Escape that was based on the game Portal. So
that sounds kind of cool.
How he got his start. I guess it was a viral video. Had like 25 million views. I've probably saw it back then, but I don't remember it. But yeah, it just seems like he probably was a big fan of Predator and probably did his research with the lore and helped with the story, and that he didn't write the screenplay. The screenplay was...
I would say this director might be one to keep an eye on, just because he has dodged some bullets and he's put out some good stuff.
And there was
he's either got a good agent or he's got a good head on his shoulders or something. He can smell success, and he knows where to dodge a failure.
Some of the shots in this...
also working on a TV adaptation of Waterworld. We'll see if that happens.
Waterworld is perfect for a TV series.
Waterworld was underrated.
All that matters is it's flooded and there are pirates on jet skis. You could do that for 5 or 6 seasons.
Yeah,
Waterworld for sure one that has like enough of a cult following now of people saying that it is good after years being...
Because it is.
Deemed one of the worst movies ever.
It is good. It was a Six Flags water action show brought to life in a movie. That movie, I don't know, man. That movie is special. How often can you watch people jet ski in combat?
You're just going to start saying gibberish. Scabadoosh. Gonna see them scabadoosh again.
I kind of started choking out there. But yeah, I mean, how many times can you watch battle jet ski? You know what I mean? Like, it's the only place. If that's your thing, that's the only place to get your... But anyways...
I just watched Mad Max Fury Road a couple weeks back, 2 or 3 weeks back. Totally holds up. It's totally awesome.
It does.
And Waterworld should be Mad Max on the water. So it has every making to be totally awesome. It just wasn't. It's one of those things that's a pretty cool IP, and it's a pretty cool setting, and they could definitely make it awesome. They could also make it trash. We'll see what they do, but I have high hopes. Action movies are awesome these days.
I don't know, man. There's so many good parts about that. I could talk about Waterworld all day. But anyways, yeah, this movie was great. Prey was great. The director did a great job. There were some really good shots in this as well. And also, the filming location was noticeably, fantastic. I don't know where they shot this, but it was great. Scenic vistas.
probably in like Montana or Colorado. It's absolutely beautiful.
That's what it looked like. Yeah, it was very great. But yeah, certified fresh out the box, guys.
I was gonna say, are we safe to say certified fresh out the box? I'm willing to say it.
Oh, I'm willing to say it.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up and 100% certified fresh out the box. No questions.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, that's all I had on the slate for today, and then next episode we'll talk about some of the things we've been watching. But I also I've been teasing it about the theatrical slate, but we'll get into it then. Y'all have anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Nah, man, that's it for me.
All right. Well, this has.
I don't. I was trying to think if there was anything time sensitive, any sales or anything, Jahan. Anything that just came out that we should tell people about that in 2 weeks we're going to wish we have told them about. Hulu, Orville. There was an Orville season finale. Check that out and come back and listen next week so we could talk about it.
There you go. That's another thing I can think of, yeah. Sandman, I guess. Check that out, but hey.
Oh yeah, we can talk. I know that just came out. I meant to mention that as new things that had dropped this week, but I think you'll probably talk about that in a little bit more detail in our next episode.
I will.
So, otherwise, this has been episode 57 of Fresh Out the Podcast. I am Drew Munhausen at Drew Munhausen on Twitter, and I usually don't do my outro first. I usually wait till last, and Jahan says stay fresh after I'm done, so this feels a little bit weird, but here it is, Drew Munhausen.
It's even weirder that you narrated the whole thing. But yeah, hey, I'm Jahan, and I'm the Board Game Guru, Game Master Extraordinaire at Rotfact on Twitter. Make sure to hit us with hashtag to catch a predator on Twitter. And yeah.
I usually do mine second, so I'm going to do mine third this time. It's me, Casualty CDG, and you can find me at that. If you want to see me painting orcs, I do that. If you want to see me playing tabletop games and pretending to be in places where I'm not, pretending to be people who I'm not, then I do that too. Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Friday from 8 p.m. until 11 p.m. Central Standard Time at twitch.tv/Johananon, baby. Also, you can find us at Fresh Out the Box on YouTube and Facebook.
Stay fresh.
Stay fresh.
God damn it.
Fresh out the box!
Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast. I am one of the hosts, one of three hosts that come together to be one host in some weird human centipede Voltron kind of way. I'm Johananon, the board game guru and game master extraordinaire, the middle of this human centipede.
It's me, Casualty CDG, the feet of the human centipede, a.k.a. if we were three guys stacked up in a trench coat, I'd have the big shoes on. I'm a retired comedian turned comedian and comedian.
Everybody, welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast, and this is your media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen, and welcome to episode 58 of Fresh Out the Podcast.
How dare you? How dare you?
Was it good?
It was good. I knew that you were imitating me, so it was good enough.
Imitation is the highest form of flattery. Isn't that the quote, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, well, in that case, let me do some flattering on my... I'm
Oh, no, don't do it.
All right.
Gosh, we're on a roll
On a roll.
tonight. I want to talk about movies. Well, I always want to talk about movies, and you guys know this. But here's what I'm getting at, right? So we're pretty much through with the summer blockbuster season, right? Like we had Thor come out at the beginning of July, and then Nope came out last month, and we had Bullet Train last week.
And then a bunch
now-
of bots bought tickets for Top Gun.
No, real people bought tickets to Top Gun because it's great.
My dad cried.
Yeah, as he should. So we've now hit that lull in the season, and guys, I'm a bit distressed right now. I'm not gonna lie. As somebody that likes to go to the movie theaters to see movies, it's been a promising summer. Theaters have been able to make money. There's been movies making money. Top Gun's made over $1 billion. Minions made a lot of money. What else made a lot of money? Jurassic World made a lot of money. Thor's making a lot of money. Doctor Strange made a lot of money. There's movies making money.
I forgot about Jurassic World.
We've hit a little bit of a wall, to the point where I'm actually going to go through some of the movies coming out between now and the end of the year to see. I'm interested in gauging y'all's thoughts, because obviously I'm the one that'll go see any and everything in theaters. And you all, and I say this as a positive, are maybe a little bit more, you pick and choose the things that you want to go spend your money and time on to go see in person. And I will say, of the movies, looking at some of the big blockbuster movies coming out, you've got Black Adam is out in October. You have Shazam, Fury of the Gods in December, and Avatar, The Way of Water in December. Those are some of the big budget films coming out. There's some animated ones too. There's a Puss in Boots sequel, Strange Worlds, which is the next Disney one. But and I forgot, of course, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. So sprinkled in there throughout October, November, and December. And any of those that you all are particularly excited for?
I am very excited for Black Panther. Super excited for that. Strange Worlds actually looks really good. I was surprised. I didn't expect it. It wasn't something I was like planning on seeing. But
Have a cool homage to like the classic 50s, 60s sci-fi movies. It looks kind of neat.
It looks neat. Yeah, like I saw the trailer. I liked the trailer. I was actually like, that actually looks like one of the better ones from Disney that I've seen in a while. Avatar, I would have been excited for 10 years ago. Shazam,
I will be the one to say I'm still excited for it. I'm excited for Avatar: The Way of Water.
I don't think I just don't. I don't know. I'll watch it. I'll probably see it in theaters as soon as it comes out, and I imagine we'll do an episode about it. But Shazam, I was excited for until I saw the trailer, and like I don't know, man. Like it doesn't look that great. I mentioned it once before, but what's his name? Zach Levy? The Shazam guy, he looks like he's aged like 30 years since the first movie. So I don't know, man. It's really weird. And then Black Adam,
Well, to be clear, so I'll walk it back, like I said. And I'm not going to name every single movie coming out, so I don't need anybody getting in my mentions saying, you didn't talk about
getting
this
his mentions
movie that I'm excited for.
Actually, yeah, that is a good idea, honestly. If there's a movie that you want Drew to talk about, then add him on Twitter at Drew Mutthausen.
For sure. Yeah, I guess, good point. So let's see. On August 12th, there's a movie called Fall, and I've seen the posters for this. It's about some friends that are at the top of a 2,000-foot radio tower stuck there. I think it's like a horror thriller kind of thing.
I've seen the trailer for that. Yeah.
August 19th, you've got Beast, which this is the Idris Elba movie where he's hunting a lion. There have been some trailers out there for it. It actually looks pretty good. Let's see, there's a horror movie on the 26th called The Invitation. Let's see. I'm going to skip some of these. Skipping. You got Clerks 3, September 13th, but I think that's just a Fathom Events, like a limited release. I don't think it's going wide, so, but I'm sure we'll all see Clerks 3 at some point as Kevin Smith fans.
Yeah.
Pearl, which comes out September 16th. This is the prequel to a movie called X, a horror movie that came out last March that I actually really liked. But this is, I don't think this movie is going to be for everyone. It's not going to be a huge, spectacular hit or anything by any means. There's a David Bowie movie called Moon Age Daydream that's coming out September 23rd. You got Don't Worry Darling, which is the Olivia Wilde directed movie with Florence Pugh and Harry Styles that famously where Olivia Wilde met Harry Styles and their relationship started.
I saw Gary's eyes roll in the back of his head so far I thought he was gonna go blind.
There's a horror movie at the end of September called Smile. There's a movie that was written by Billy Eichner coming out called Bros that's getting some early buzz. There is, let's see, Halloween Ends in October. That'll probably be a pretty big one. Black
Halloween
Adam.
Ends.
Yeah, Halloween Ends.
Jeez.
This is the final, looks like what will actually be Jamie Lee Curtis's final appearance in the Halloween franchise. This is the, ever since they kind of did these legacy-quel movies that started with Halloween a few years ago. They did Halloween, then Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends.
Yeah, it's going to have to be her only movie, her last movie, because people only live so long, Drew. She's running out of time.
Yeah, the next one will be Halloween Reanimated, and they'll use her likeness.
The main character just holds her in an urn the whole time. He's after my grandma.
They'll use like a CG version of her, and she'll be Michael Myers.
No, I just want her to be in an urn. I would watch that.
Amsterdam comes out in November. This is actually the new David O. Russell film, which he's the one that did Silver Linings Playbook and American Hustle and a few others. But the cast of this movie, just listen to this: Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, John David Washington, Chris Rock, Anya Taylor-Joy, Zoe Saldana, Mike Myers, Michael Shannon, Timothy Olyphant, Andrea Riseborough, Taylor Swift, Alessandro Nivola, Rami Malek, Robert De Niro, all in the cast.
Can you imagine being that third guy?
What's the third guy?
John David Washington. That's Denzel's son. He's the lead of Tenet, and he's been in some good stuff.
Oh, dope.
I like John David Washington. He was in.
He's the one whose name I didn't know.
Black Klansman and Tenet, up and coming movie star for sure.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know anything about him and haven't seen either of those films.
Did you ever watch the Rock HBO show called Ballers?
Man, just a very little bit of it. I watched like 3 or 4 episodes of the first season and realized that show's probably not for me.
He's in that too. Let's see. We talked about Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. There's also a movie called Armageddon Time, which is the new James Gray film, which I really like his stuff. If you saw Ad Astra a couple years ago, really good space movie that I highly recommend. I like anything from James Gray. Let's see, what else skipping over? The Fablemans, that's a big one. November, right around Thanksgiving time. This is Steven Spielberg's next movie.
Okay.
That's kind of an autobiographical film that stars, let's see, Paul Dano, Michelle Williams, Seth Rogen. Should be pretty good.
Love me some Paul Dano.
Spielberg, have you ever heard of him? He's pretty good director. Some people have heard of him. I don't know if y'all have.
Did you say Gilbert, as in the former WWE champion?
I did not say Gilbert. I'm happy that Gilbert has been brought up on this podcast.
What's a Gilbert?
Gilbert,
Oh.
I'm so glad you asked.
Why
They were doing
did you
a
ask,
thing
John?
I knew what I
during
was
the
doing.
During the Monday night ratings wars. They did this big thing, like they were acting like they had Goldberg, like they were acting like they had this tough, bald, bad guy they brought in from the outside, and then like they were playing this knockoff Goldberg music, and they did like the camera in the back dressing room thing, and this really scrawny guy came out, like bald, shaved from head to toe, wearing the black Goldberg gloves, and was like rah rah, punching himself in the head, getting himself psyched up, and then came out and they sprayed him down with sparklers instead of having the huge fireworks. Like they would, like just guys with sparklers were just standing there like hosing him with the sparks, and then they put him out with a fire extinguisher. And Triple H was in the ring. And Triple H was just dying laughing because that's who he had to defend the belt against, and he thought he was going to get his ass whooped by Goldberg. Then Gilbert came out and speared him and pinned him and won the belt. And
Excellent.
It was just absolutely fantastic. What a high moment in WWE history. Gilbert will live on forever. And he's still around to this day. I saw him on a podcast recently, and he had the belt. Him and his dad were really proud about it. You know, they know it was a joke, but he's still a WWF champion, and they can never take that away from him.
You should read a book. My life as a former WWF champion.
I'm sure he has written a book. We need to look up Gilbert and see what he's up to these days.
So he's in a movie?
No. Gary compared it to the Gilbert of movies. I went through a list, and a lot of this, honestly, was just for my own interest, because a lot of those movies, I think, are things I'm interested in, but I don't know if you all necessarily will be, which is kind of the point, right? Of those lists, I mean, what of those do you think you all will go out to the theater to see? If you had to
Not
go...
the one that's directed by Gilbert. I don't want to see the one about the autobiographical Gilbert.
These big budget ones. Like, Gary, are you going to go see Black Adam in theaters?
If you guys make me, the same way you guys made me go see Jurassic bullcrap, Black Adam's going to be terrible. But I think that my love for The Rock will carry me through that movie. If I must go see it, then I'll be able to survive because The Rock is charismatic.
in theaters, I can guarantee I'll see Black Panther and Avatar. If we wind up doing discussion stuff on Black Adam and Shazam, I will also do those. And maybe even Strange Worlds. So
I would assume we'll do discussions on Black Adam, Black Panther, and Avatar for sure. I don't know if we'll do Shazam. It's right after Avatar. I feel like it's going to get kind of left in Avatar's dust. I don't know.
It's a terrible time to release a subpar movie. What are you doing?
But what do y'all think? Am I right to be worried about the theatrical landscape between now and the end of the year? Like, summer was kind of refreshing from following the box office numbers, but am I right to be worried? This doesn't even include, all the big streaming movies that will be coming out.
Yeah.
So there's going to be things like Knives Out too,
That's what I was going to say, Drew. Is this may not be the season for movies. This is going to be a big season for shows, right?
We have video games.
I think we have a bunch of streaming shows coming out. Man, I wish I knew what they all were. But I know that, like, the I Am Groot show
Lord of the
starts
Rings.
August. But is Lord of the Rings, like, within the next couple weeks?
It's
House of the Dragon starts in a week from when this podcast will be dropping.
Oh, okay.
That is going to keep people out of theaters. That's going to keep people on streaming services. So maybe it's almost smart to time your theatrical releases this way. To not have a bunch of big movies try to come out when all the good streaming shows are about to come out. It's a new thing you have to compete with. It's a new market.
No.
Yeah, it's a good point. I don't even have a list in front of me, just off the top of my head. House of the Dragon, She-Hulk, Andor, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I assume Ted Lasso, the next season, will come out still this year. And those are just all in the next...
I saw him on a possible list of characters for that multiverse fighting game. I think Warner Brothers or something owns him, and so he was on the list, and I thought that was really funny. But yeah, man, I don't know. Movies, like going to the movies used to be a big part of my life. Like I would go all the time. But since the pandemic, man, like my social anxiety's gotten so bad, I gotta pick and choose like times when I can go where I don't think that it's going to be as crowded. I gotta pick, what movie, because I'm just not going to go every time, It's just not. And now, like, people are going to be rubbing monkeypox all over the seats, Like, I don't know. I don't know, man. I'd rather watch at home. It's just how I am now, I guess. And movies, yeah, sure, they're better in theaters. You got that giant screen, that's how they're meant to be seen, yes. But I'm comfortable at home, man,
Yeah. Fair enough. I think, I just think it's going to be a really interesting thing to watch for through the end of the year. Of course, I'll be on here talking about it every week as things develop and as movies bomb or as they do surprisingly well. I mean, who knows? Who knows what we'll see? I think it'll be interesting, but that's a good lead-in to all of the things that we have been watching. Which, speaking of streaming shows, because I know that we didn't get to talk about it last week, so first thing, Jahan, I want to give you a platform to talk a little bit about Sandman and what you've been experiencing with that so far.
Yeah, man. So Sandman, Neil Gaiman is the guy. Neil Gaiman's great. Does a lot of he's a great writer. Loved American Gods. I've read some of Sandman. It wasn't like my favorite. A lot of it's like there's a lot of anthology stuff going on where it's not necessarily like directly related to like a main storyline, blah blah blah. But they're well written. This show, I wasn't sure what to expect. Could have gone either way. The first episode didn't have me fully invested. I was like, okay, this is interesting, but I don't know where they're gonna go from here. You know what I mean? Like it's very high concept. There's a lot. I mean, the main character is the embodiment of the concept of dreams. Like, he is Dream the Endless. That's who the main character of the show is. That's pretty out there. And I wasn't sure how they were going to, like, humanize that, make that a story that you wanted to see. And in the first episode, they don't really. But the subsequent episodes, it really, he deals with like a loss of his powers, the collapse of the dreamscape, that kind of stuff. And that's kind of like the plot of the show. I'm on episode like 4 now. They introduced Joanna Constantine, who is a gender-swapped... I believe she's she's either a gender-swapped John Constantine or his descendant. I'm not positive. But everything you expect from Constantine, she's got going in space. She's played by probably the most attractive Doctor Who companion to ever walk the face of the earth. She's great. I loved her in Doctor Who. I forget her name. But she was really good as Joanna Constantine. And the story gets really good. The visuals are out of control. Like, I don't know what the budget on this show is. The visuals are insane. Like, they go to the dream world, you know what I mean? He goes to the endless dream, and they show it, and it's amazing, man. There's a bridge that gets lifted out of the water by, like, giant stone hands. There's a CGI gargoyle dragon creature that looks pretty good. In the episode I'm watching right now, they show hell, and it looks bananas. And they've got some pretty big, British actors here.
Looks like Netflix spent a pretty penny on this show. I'm seeing some rumors of anywhere of $165 million on the first season, upwards of that. So it sounds like they did spend a fair amount on it.
I'm worried for the future of the show because of everything going on with like Warner Brothers, DC, and all this, because this is a DC property. Yeah, Gina Coleman is Joanna Constantine. She's great. We got Gwendolyn Christie, who plays Brienne of Tarth. She is Lucifer in this. You have just a lot of great names, a lot of great British names. David Thewlis is one of the antagonists in this.
I love David Thewlis.
I can't think of other stuff he's in, but I also is he in Harry Potter?
Yeah,
he's Professor Lupin. Yeah, and he's been in a lot of other stuff as well. There's just like the cast is really solid. Apparently Mark Hamill is in this. I didn't get to that episode yet, but it's a great show. They didn't have me in the first episode. I'm on episode 4, and now I'm invested. Now I'm hooked. Like, it got to the point where I was like, oh, I better put my phone down and pay attention. Like, this is getting really good. Which is such a millennial issue to have, I guess. But I think people should watch this. I think Sandman is worth the watch. It is.
Sandman, is this an HBO Max show?
This is Netflix. This is on Netflix.
Netflix. Okay, when you said it was a DC property, I just assumed it was on HBO.
Right? It's really weird this is on Netflix. All this is really weird, but, and it makes me worry for a season 2. But there's 10 episodes out already. Watch first 4. Fantastic. Really cool, like, demons, really cool lore. If you like that kind of stuff, if you like that supernatural kind of stuff, this has it in spades. And it deals with the strange magic of being the endless dream in a very, very cool ways. So, yeah, definitely watch it.
Hour-long episodes?
Yes, hour-long episodes, 10 of them. Some of them might go over, but yeah.
Yikes. Hour-long. I don't know.
I love some hour-long episodes.
Whatever, you watched The Irishman, didn't you? It's like a 5-hour
feature film by legendary Martin Scorsese.
That is a 5-hour march to nowhere, my friend.
Together.
It's a 5-hour march to nowhere. No, I like that movie actually. But yeah, Sandman watch.
Sandman watch. Fair enough. I wanted to make sure we got to that off the bat. Because I know there's a lot of people that are really anticipating that show and that speak highly of the books. I personally have not read them, but would like to. Jahan and I were actually talking offline about just the barrier for me is the cost. I don't own any of the graphic novels. There's like a lot of graphic novels, and they're all $25-$30 a piece. You can buy these $100 omnibus books, but I just I don't know if I
save yourself some money. Go spend $10 on a paperback of American Gods. And call it a day.
Yeah,
that book's worth the read.
Well, changing gears a little bit, I want to talk about Bodies, which my review at this point...
I want that not to be the title of a thing. I want that just to be what you want to talk about.
Body, yaddy, 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 yaddy.
It is the title of a thing. This is A24's newest movie. I was able to go see this, and I reviewed this for Nerdtropolis as well. And it is a... Where to even start? It's a dark comedy satire slasher film. And the general plot is it's a group of friends that are staying together in a mansion while weathering a hurricane. So they're all just, and they're like, a lot of them are lifelong friends. Pete Davidson is in this. He plays the one who's hosting them all there. They're staying at his house.
I'm sold, bro. I'm sold.
The main girl is played by Maria Bakalova, who gained fame because she was in Borat's subsequent movie film. This is the girl that played Borat's daughter. She's the lead of this movie. Amanda Stenberg's in it. Lee Pace is in it.
Is she the one that Rudy Giuliani tried to sexually molest?
Yes,
Excellent.
Indeed. So she's in this. So anyway, this is this is one of those movies that's totally a satire of like the Gen Z online social media age kids and where they're at, you know, heads down in phones and so they're all hanging out together. They play a game while, you know, there's a hurricane going on. They lose power, yada yada. They're playing a game that they call Bodies. And the way their game works is everybody draws a piece of paper. Whoever gets the one with the X on it is the killer. And
Nice.
The game is, you know, you all are crawling around in the dark. If the killer finds you, he touches you on the back, and you are, you know, pretend dead. And then everybody has to figure out who the killer is. Well, naturally, somebody actually dies, which then sets off the series of murders and them trying to figure out who done it. So what I really liked about this movie, though, is that the stakes are high, right? People are dying. But the quarrels are so dumb. Like, oh, well, you don't text back in our text message thread enough. Or, you know...
Sus, bruh. That's real sus.
Or, like, ironically, y'all will like this. One of the girls in the movie started her own podcast, and they all secretly make fun of her behind her back for her podcast that she started. And, like, it explores the idea of the life...
Do you think that people make fun of us for our show behind our back?
They just make fun of us because, like, they've never tried to do anything in their whole lives. So, you know, that's why people make fun of creatives, because they can't even. That's why.
This sounds great, Drew. Bodies sounds great.
I'm sold, man. I'm gonna watch this. I might watch this tonight.
It's coming out. It'll be in theaters wide, I think, on the 12th. I don't know when it'll be on demand or when we'll be able to see it, but it'll be in theaters. But
I might go to theater to see this, bro. I might go.
It totally explores the idea, and I like this. And Gary and I have talked about this before with some of our other friends. I won't name any names, but it explores the idea of lifelong friendships that you have when the people that you've been friends with for a lot of your life may not be the people you would have chosen as friends now in your current life, but these are the people that you're essentially stuck with. So it explores that. Like, they all talk about each other behind each other's backs and, you know, whatever, but they're all best friends at the same time. And yeah, so there's a lot of comedy throughout, but there are some slasher things. But I will say the resolution to it, or, you know, the ending is just as satisfying as it is hilarious in my mind. So I do highly recommend Bodies. I think some people might find the Gen Z humor and some of that stuff to be a little cringy, but for me, I thought the satire just worked really well. I found it to be very fun. And this is one that I went to, you know, I got to go see a press screening, and I didn't have any expectations, so I was kind of, you know, knocked out of my shoes. I thought it was very entertaining and very fun.
No, I think Gen Z is great, man. No, see, we were just talking about what we're gonna go to the theater to see. This is something I might go see, man. This sounds like a winner to me.
Yeah, so it's an A24 release. So if you like A24 movie, it kind of has that vibe of, like, you know, some of their gritty pop punky, I don't know how to explain it. Neon lights, that kind of stuff. It's good. I do recommend. So that's Bodies. Other than that, I don't have too much, honestly. I have a few movies that I've been checking out. I did go see DC League of Super Pets. Because why not? And to be honest, I was pretty underwhelmed with it. Gary, you mentioned The Rock before.
No.
Your love for The Rock will make you go see these things, and that's how it was with this. But even The Rock and Kevin Hart both just seemed like they were phoning it in totally. This was a paycheck movie. The animation I didn't find to be particularly wonderful, even compared. Like, I know, say what you will about something like Lightyear, the animation in that is fantastic. And then by comparison, something like DC League of Super Pets, it's like pretty bland, and I don't know. There's a lot of big name voice actors in it, and there are some things that work, but I don't know. I just had higher hopes for this, and it being
Here's
from
what I
DC
just
realm.
don't understand about the DC pets or the Marvel pets or the you name it pets is they're like targeted at kids, right? But like when you were a kid, did you want a Spider-Man dog or did you want a Spider-Man toy? Like, you didn't want the Batman cat. Nobody wanted that. You wanted Batman. Like, these pets are dumb. Nobody wants this. Little kids want cool action figures.
It's
cool
like you're
heroes. They don't want animal versions. It's the worst.
You have a good point, because it's like they're targeting kids with something based on something that already targeted kids in the first place.
Yeah, this didn't work when we were growing up. We didn't want to watch these cartoon shows, and we didn't want to buy these toys. Spider-Pig worked in Spider-Verse because he was out of place and hilarious. But DC Pets is nothing. You can't even make a good Batman movie. You canceled your Batwoman movie. You don't know what you're doing with your own lore. Why do you think you can stretch off into pets and be successful?
I mean, they started getting super pets back during comics when, like, I guess they were trying to get a younger audience to, like, start reading or something. And they didn't work then. They don't work now. It is kind of dumb. But hey, I feel like I think the age for this is like 4. Like, it's very young. I think a 4-year-old kid would love this movie. But
and there was some weird stuff in it too. Like, it had some strangely adult humor. It even had some curse words in it that would get bleeped out in the movie. So, like, it had bleeps in it. It was strange. I mean, to your point, Jahan, I don't know who they're aiming this movie to be. Because, like, for me as an adult, I didn't get very much out of it. But it didn't even seem like something that kids would like that much either. I mean, it's just
interesting.
Yeah.
So it's a miss.
I would say it's a miss. And I will say spoilers for this. To talk about there's a mid, or no, it's either the mid or end credit scene. I honestly can't remember which one it is. I'm going to spoil what this is. Basically, in a credit scene, Crypto the Super Dog, voiced by The Rock, is by James The Rock Johnson. He's in a park or whatever, and the Black Adam version of Crypto basically comes into contact with him, and then Black Adam is also there with Superman, and of course everybody's voiced by The Rock, and I'm just sitting there thinking, like, is this just product placement here at the end of this movie for the Black Adam movie? Like, The Rock's voicing Crypto, The Rock's voicing Black Adam's dog, I think his name's Anubis or something, and then he's voicing Black Adam, who's off screen in this movie too. It was just gross.
Hey, did you like this children's movie? Go watch Black Adam skeletonize people. Right. Yeah, who are they targeting? What are you doing? Yeah, no, fair.
But anyway, so that I just wanted to get that out there. DC League of Super Pets, I would say you can pass on it, or maybe put on in the background while you're doing other things once it's put on the HBO Max service one day. That's my praise for it.
Oh my God, that is just awful. All of that was just bad news. Jahan, have you been keeping up with the Orville?
Yes.
Have you caught up episode 10,
Yes.
season finale, all of that?
And now I
Okay,
know.
so-
Now I know what you were talking about when you mentioned something. I was like, okay.
I'll just let the cat out of the bag. Episode 9. We're gonna talk spoilers because it's been like 2 or 3 weeks at this point. Episode 9 was great. It's the best episode of the Orville so far. The episode was called Domino. There was a main character death, and there was actually a main tertiary character death as well. It had giant story implications from the very beginning. The Krill and the Mocklins are working together now, which are not made-up words. Those are two of the alien races in Orville, which I guess does make them made-up words, but then every word is made up, so you can eat a whole dick. So the Krill are kind of like the really treacherous reptilian, methodical tactician planet.
I like to refer to them as religious lizard vampires, because that's what.
Yes,
Yeah.
Religious lizard vampires is great. And they are just they're bad. They've been bad. They don't want to be part of the Union. They believe that they are pure, and their religion says that they'll kill anyone else they come in contact with.
And then
The
Mocklins are just gay Klingons.
Mocklins are just gay Klingons, right? They develop the biggest, baddest, boomiest weapons for the whole galaxy. Though they're not necessarily the best at using them, they make big weapons.
And I'm obviously
And so now-
not using gay as a pejorative. They are all men. They are an all male species, and so they
Right.
reproduce that way.
So this episode, which was Domino, was great. It puts these two factions in an alliance now against the Union for the first time, because Mocklins have been part of the Planetary Union. There are stories about inequality amongst the genders that permeate from the first season in through the third season and force the rift to the Mocklin culture. There's a great background to build it coming. And then the Krill are already like bad news. And so knowing the Mocklin and the Krill are going to work together is like a huge oh crap moment that happens right on, episode 9, right at the end of the season. So we're going to have this problem going forward. In that episode, one of the admirals from the Earth Navy fleet gets killed. Like, huge, top-tier guy, maybe one of the top 3 in the entire show of the guys who's calling, making decisions. And it's Ted Danson. Like, how are you going to kill Ted Danson? You just killed Ted Danson? I can't believe it.
It was a good death, though. It was a good death. His storyline was cool. The episode you're talking about, Domino, like, that was the one I said was, like, better than the most recent, like, Star Wars movies coming out.
Yeah, it really was. It's better than the Star Wars movies. It's better than Star Trek that's been coming out. Domino was just great. But it's not the kind of thing that you could just sit down and watch Domino and get it. It was a huge turning point in the season. You almost have to understand the narrative and who the characters are for any of it to be important, or else you just watch it and go, meh, it's another sci-fi show. I think that everyone in the world would have liked to see Firefly keep going, but I think Firefly would have petered out, stalled out, and just not been as good. Where the Orville is the exact opposite. Maybe it could have quit after the first season and it would have been funny and remembered well, but as it continues to go on, it just keeps getting better and better and better. And this moment in Domino was like the real, oh my God, I don't think this show's going to get canceled. I think Disney's going to hold on to the Orville forever, unless Seth MacFarlane just wants to stop making it.
Yeah. I'll let that thing you said about Firefly slide because I don't want to go too far of an aside, but I disagree. But anyways, yeah, the season finale came after Domino. Domino should have been the season finale. I agree with you, Gary.
I agree.
Yeah.
Completely. 100%.
The actual finale was not anything close to that. It was a wedding episode with like a return to the season 1 humor. Like, they really crammed some jokes in, and it wasn't unwatchable or anything, but yeah, I think they should have stopped an episode ahead.
So they definitely tried to end the season on a lighthearted note. Another main character dies in the Domino episode. that character is the Domino. She's the one who unites the universe through her heroic actions. And so it's a really that episode I think ends with a eulogy, and it was really powerful and moving. It was great. It was wonderful, and it should have ended there. But the show is a comedy, and I guess they wanted to not leave you on that sour of a sad note with a character death. So yeah, it's a wedding episode, and it's almost 2 wedding episodes in one, because it starts with Bortus and Clyden renewing their vows.
Oh man, I forgot about that. That was so funny. All right, Drew. The Mocklin vow exchange to get married and become mates, right? One of them runs off into the woods naked, and the other one follows naked and has to catch them. And if they don't catch them, then they don't get married. But if they do catch them, then they have to have sex right there. And that's the Mocklin. And so, like, all of them are standing there watching this happen. And it's real top-tier hilarious, bro. Real funny stuff. But
yeah, they say it's respectful in the tradition to have witnesses so that you know that somebody wasn't just like giving up on the chase. You know, it has to be a heartfelt chase.
It's real funny.
So it's good stuff. So like you know, it's funny. It's full of jokes. You laugh, but all in all, it was a filler episode, and it should have been used as filler instead of as the finale. But I'm looking forward to more Orville. I haven't read if it's been signed up for a season 4, but it's one of those, it was a Fox show, now it's a Hulu show. Will it be a Disney show type of question? It keeps getting passed around, but it has consistently gotten better as it's been passed around. So I think everyone, you know, Seth MacFarlane has a pretty sturdy track record. I'm not a huge fan of Ted or Ted 2. But people like those, and I think that Family Guy is just really kind of trash now, but I'm not sure how involved he is anymore. There's, you know, a room full of joke writers at this point, and it was just his project at one point. So it seems like he's focusing on the Orville. The Orville's great, and if people let him keep focusing on it, and so far as it holds his attention, I cannot recommend the Orville enough.
Yeah, the Orville is definitely a must-watch. And yeah, even though this was a joke filler episode, they still managed to put in the message that capitalism's evil, and it's really funny. Like, they really go to town on the concept of money. But yeah, Orville.
And Claire and Isaac get married, which that's the big spoiler. Isaac Drew is the unfeeling murder robot from across the galaxy, and this one was sent on a mission of exploration to figure out like why humans do what they do, or why biologicals do what they do. So he's the only one in the entire fleet, and during the season he had the option to feel emotions for like 15 minutes, and then his recycler set in his brain so that he, you know, that those, they're not meant to feel emotions, they don't have the right hardware to do it. But in those moments, him and the doctor felt true love. They were together in a simulator on a date, and so it was a really interesting conversation of, you know, marrying a robot that can't feel, that you know loves you, because when you feel he loved you, and it's just as real now as it was then. Her love's real. So there's just a lot of really deep, cool character growth and concepts going on all throughout the whole season, and it is for a reason. Finally. They've had this strange relationship through 3 seasons that you're kind of wondering what the point of it is. And it's nice that there's finally a point of it.
Yeah, watch the Orville. Yeah.
I like hearing just how passionate you are about this show every week, and I know that it's been a point that I know you have to hammer it into people that's like, watch the Orville, and I feel like I have seen some buzz about it out there that people are liking it, but I know you have the desire for it to be a bigger phenomenon than it is. And
I'm a number 1 fan. I think this is one of the sci-fi greats. It should be in the talk. Where Trekkies, I don't know where Trekkies get off thinking that they are better or bigger than Star
Where
Wars
do
fans.
Trekkies get off?
Dude, man, Star Wars is bigger than Star Trek. Just eat a log. Like, this is not really a debate for me. But I think Orville deserves to be in the same conversation if Star Trek does. If Star Trek and Star Wars deserve to be compared, then the Orville deserves to be in the conversation too.
See, I
because
think
it's just as good.
if it didn't have the humor, I think that it would absolutely, like, no question, would be. But, you know, it's still good.
Well, good.
Speaking of sci-fi, I finally... Have you seen Lightyear, Gary? I know Drew
No,
did.
I have not. I'll probably have watched Lightyear by the time that this podcast comes out, but I haven't seen it as of the recording.
I'll talk about it briefly here because Drew already talked about this one. But I saw it. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to because I went in.
Ooh, it got kind of, it was getting kind of some bad buzz or whatever.
Bad buzz.
Both of them, shut up. Shut up. Both of them, shut up.
Obviously it didn't do well at the box office, but I didn't think that was, related to its quality, which I thought it was okay, but I saw a lot of negative feedback on it too. So I'm glad to hear you liked it, John.
I liked
thought
it.
It was a great sci-fi show.
I thought it was cool, man. The story with the crystal, the time travel, like the bad guy, like all of it came together really well. I think people. I mean, it's on Disney Plus. You got Disney Plus. I think you should go watch Lightyear. There's no reason not to, if you have Disney Plus already. Definitely great family movie. There's some great inclusion in this movie, great representation, and just great messaging about, accepting help, and which I think is a very important message that maybe doesn't get stated enough, but it's a good theme for sure, and definitely the theme of this: ask for help if you need it. No one could do everything by themselves.
I don't know if it's an American thing or if it's a male thing or just the culture that I was kind of raised in.
Definitely a male thing.
Maybe it's a suburban American thing, but asking for help is usually viewed as, weak. You should be able to do it yourself. Once you're 18, you're a man. You go out and you should be making $100,000 a year and you should be able to do everything yourself. And even though that's not true, that's certainly the way that we are either
Definitely
made
the way
to
we were
feel
brought
or,
up, yeah.
Yeah, where we do feel that way, I think, and that extrapolates to even asking for help of someone. You're gonna ask a stranger to help you bring a couch into your apartment, or are you just going to rip all of your muscles out of your back and try to do it yourself? It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to not be tough mentally and physically. It's tough to ask for help. Way tougher to ask for help than it is to do it stubbornly by yourself.
Correct. And that's one of the major messages of this movie is, don't be afraid to ask for help. Asking for help, you can get things done that you normally wouldn't be able to. And I also...
I wouldn't have internet if I didn't ask for help. Remember that time I Operation Friendship these people?
And then also I really enjoyed Meat Sandwich, if you remember that part, Drew.
I do.
I enjoyed Meat Sandwich. It's pretty fun.
And did you like Socks, the cat?
I liked the cat. Yeah, people said they didn't like the cat. I don't know what...
No, Socks rules.
Socks ruled. Yeah, I liked the... People were talking trash about the robot cat. I don't see it. I all the complaints that you voiced that people were having about this movie, I don't see it, man. Like, this movie... Like, I'm not saying this is the greatest movie of all time by any means. It was a good movie.
I think it's like, how we did our Pixar ranking a while back.
Yeah.
We did A, B, and C tiers, and that's what helped. I would put Lightyear firmly in the B tier.
Solidly in the B.
Good.
I think it would be towards the top of the B tier, for sure. Definitely better than any of the Cars movies.
Oh, yeah. C tier. Those are
Just by not having Larry the Cable Guy, you're already making a better animated movie.
Get her done. Yeah, what a guy. But yeah, finally saw Lightyear. Check out Lightyear for sure.
What casting director was like, I have a great idea. Let's expose all of our children to Larry the Cable Guy all at once. What an awful choice they made.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree. Not going to disagree at all. I guess, are those last things on your list movies or what, Drew?
One is a movie that I'll talk about because so actually, in the movie world, in the movie podcasting world, on The Ringer did a podcast on their Big Picture pod that was like a movie draft, but Quentin Tarantino was a guest on this pod, and they were talking about movies from 1987 specifically. And one of the ones that they talked about was Near Dark, which is a Catherine Bigelow directed vampire movie from 1987. And this movie is very difficult to find these days. You cannot stream it anywhere. It's out of print from Blu-ray and DVD, so you can buy it for super marked up on Amazon, or
Gonna go
you
hop
can
on
do what I
LimeWire.
do and import the Italian Blu-ray so that you can watch it. And don't worry, it's still in English and everything. It's still the original movie. And this movie rules. Honestly, maybe one of my favorite vampire movies that I've seen. It's a pretty simple story about a young man who is, bit by a vampire and then gets taken in by their group and kind of has to learn the ways, but then he also like outwardly rejects those ways. It doesn't want to be part of it. And, there's a lot of movies that do vampire lore differently, but there's a lot of stuff in this one that I liked the way they portrayed the vampires.
That Bill Paxton? Yeah.
Yes, Bill Paxton's in this movie as one of them. And so is Lance Henriksen, who, was just an 80s staple who was in all those movies, like he's, in the Terminator and Aliens and all that. But
oh yeah, he's the synthetic in Aliens.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So he's the kind of the leader of the vampire clan. Bill Paxton is is the wild card of their clan, just the one that's nuts. And he's Bill Paxton at level 10.
I'm starting to think I've seen this.
One of my favorite Bill Paxton performances. There's a scene that takes place in a bar with all the vampires. That
is there like a vampire kid?
There's part of their gangs that
I've
a child.
seen this movie. This movie's great. It is one of the best vampire movies. I've seen this.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
this all looks and sounds so familiar. Yeah, I've seen this. Once you said the guy was the leader of the vampire clan, I was like, wait a second. This starts... Yeah. It's all coming together for me.
Of course, you can see the ties here. Like, it's directed by Catherine Bigelow. It's one of her early films, who, of course, she went on to win an Oscar for The Hurt Locker, and she did Zero Dark 30 and Detroit most recently. She also did Point Break, of course, but famously was married to James Cameron for a while there. And so, it's funny because James Cameron, Bill Paxton, was one of his guys for years. Bill Paxton was in Aliens and True Lies and Titanic.
I love Bill Paxton.
And so it's funny that he was in Catherine Bigelow's early movies there too, so a tie there. But and Lance Henriksen too, Aliens, the connection there to Jimmy C. But yeah, just some fun connections. But this is a great '80s vampire romp that I thoroughly enjoyed and was not expecting to like it as much as I did.
There's a period of time.
I think my favorite thing about all of this is that my best friend Drew imports Italian Blu-rays to watch movies from the 80s.
I love that fact about you, Drew. That's awesome. You're a cool person.
There's a lot that goes into it, because you have to have region-free Blu-ray players, which that's a thing in itself. But yeah, it's
not just something really anyone can do.
You could probably torrent this movie, but I'm not advocating that because that's illegal.
That's illegal.
So don't
guys.
do that.
Don't do that.
But you could torrent it, or you could import the Italian version with your jailbroken Blu-ray player.
Yeah.
Regionless. It's different. The jailbreak.
Yeah, whatever.
There was a period of time where I was going through trying to watch all the vampire movies I could find, and this got into that rotation, I guess. Really good vampire movie, man. I was really excited though because I thought this was something new that I could watch. I was like, yeah, this sounds great. I'm gonna go watch it.
Sorry, no, this is old and it's not streaming anywhere. So literally, this does not help anyone.
It doesn't help me at all.
I just still had to sing its praises because I liked it so
Nah,
much.
man, if you can see this movie, go see it. I absolutely this movie's certified fresh for me, man. I guess I'll just have to wait for the day shift with Snoop Dogg, which I am unironically like psyched for. Still,
I am not surprised to hear that, and I don't even mean that to be insulting. I will
well,
probably
somehow,
watch it, too.
Drew.
Let's be
No,
real.
I'm just
Let's
kidding.
be real. I'm gonna end up watching that movie.
Oh yeah, Netflix for sure.
The only other thing that I had that I wanted to mention is there's a series on Disney Plus. I think it's a 6-episode documentary series called Light and Magic. Have either of you checked this out?
It is. I saw the title screen for it, and I've watched almost all of this, all the behind the scenes Star Wars stuff, all the behind the scenes like Mando stuff, almost everything that Disney does behind the scenes and making of. So I feel like I've learned about ILM a million times, and so I looked at it and was like, damn, like I want to see it and I'm interested, but like, I know all about ILM already, and I don't know what else there is to learn. I feel like Disney's just cutting and pasting the same footage.
So, and I bet a lot of this footage has been found in other Star Wars featurettes and things, but I actually do recommend this. I would certify it fresh out the podcast. Gary, I think you and I talked before we even had a podcast that we were both fans of the Imagineering documentary series that was on Disney Plus when it first launched. And this is, yes, so this goes into the origins of Industrial Light and Magic and how it was created back when George Lucas was making the original Star Wars. And it has interviews with all the original people that were there, that they're all a lot older now, but them talking about their passions and their hobbies. And basically they were a bunch of people that just really loved special effects in movies and made their own movies as kids. And it was a hobby for them to try to make their own films, and they were up for anything. And it's kind of how they started making models and trying new special effects for the original Star Wars. And there's tons of just really great behind the scenes footage from the 70s of young George Lucas talking about it and on the set of Star Wars, and these guys working in a warehouse creating the original model for the Millennium Falcon, and how they did some of these early X-Wing shots, and just how the effects evolved.
All that stuff's so cool, man. Like when I found out that all them backgrounds were painted on glass with all the story, like that was crazy, man. I was like, what? That's genius. Like, you guys are so clever.
I probably do need to rewatch that because I want to start making like some little, I've been painting all these miniatures. I'd love to make some little stop motion animations or something. So maybe watching something like this would help inspire.
Fresh out the Block Studios. Let's do it.
When it gets into the model making parts of it, Gary, you probably would, because I mean, again, some of these things are if you're a fan of Star Wars, it's not like they're secrets, but they used tons of model kits of cars and space, ships, whatever, to take the parts to make the spaceships and to put them on there, and the wiring and everything. And it shows all that stuff though, like how if we were going to have 10 X-Wings, then we needed 10 of that model kit that we, to take the parts from. And they ended up just having to buy the models in bulk by weight instead of certain amounts, because that's the only way they could get what they needed. And just, yeah.
I would love if one of you guys, or if somebody out there is trying to make a movie, if you're out there and you're listening and you just want to buy models by the pound and put me in a warehouse and tell me to figure out how to make sci-fi vehicles for you, I will do that. That sounds like a dream come true. I will glue together pieces. Yeah, come on. Like that is a dream. That sounds awesome.
I'm technically an engineer now, so I can
that's right.
I can come super fast.
And you can 3D print stuff, so you can buy a bunch of models and print what we don't need.
For those of you at home that do not know, I am a professional 3D printer in the medical industry right now. So yes, I do know how to do that. Let's go make movies.
I do think there's a lot of these things that aren't necessarily revelations if you followed a lot of featurettes over the years, but still seeing this all in one place. Some of the footage they have is truly great. Some of the old stuff, I'm like, man, I can't believe they held on to this footage, or they didn't know what they were doing at the time, and now this is so great. And I would recommend it. You know, even at the very least, it's the perfect thing to like. If you're laying in bed and you want to watch something on TV before you go to sleep and you just need something like easy watch but interesting and intriguing, I'd say throw this on.
Sounds pretty good.
6-part documentary. They're all an hour-long episode. I haven't even finished it all, but I did just want to shout it out because I've really enjoyed what I've seen of it so far.
I used to love this kind of stuff, man. I remember we had a VHS that had like some Imagineering stuff on it, like behind the scenes, when I was like 8, and I watched that thing over and over. I watched that thing 100 times. I wore that tape out. But yeah, man, this sounds pretty cool. Is that your last thing? Oh, cool. It's all me now, huh?
My last thing. Yeah, you got lots of bullet points.
I got a couple things.
Fly through some.
I'm going to fly through some of these for sure. So, Community, you guys know it from Dan Harmon, blah, blah, blah. I've been rewatching. I got through season 1. Get through might be.
Have you watched this before, or is this your first time?
I've seen all of it before. Yes.
Okay.
So this is a rewatch for me. It is still really funny, but honestly, like some of it doesn't hold up, and some of it's not okay anymore. I think some of it's kind of offensive to me on a rewatch. So I don't know. Like Chevy Chase isn't like playing a racist old, like he's just he's just saying racist things, like so racist, like top tier. Like, I'm like, I can't believe they got away with this ever. And like now I'm like, all right, like let's calm it down. But yeah, so Community, like surprisingly lackluster on a rewatch for me, which I really liked it the first time around. The theme song's about killing yourself. Huzzah! But yeah, Res Dogs Season 2 has launched. First 2 episodes. Did you check this out yet, Gary?
No, I saw that it had launched, and it was a pleasant surprise. I was happy about it. However, I didn't know if Hulu just knows me well or if Hulu was being offensive. And I'm going to hope that Hulu just knows me well because it recommended Res Dogs when Prey ended.
I mean, this is also another native story. So, you know, it's not, I wouldn't find that offensive, I don't think. It's
just go straight from natives being slaughtered and slaughtering a predator straight into a native created comedy.
Yeah.
Well, I say comedy. There were some pretty dark, depressing episodes.
It's very dark, yeah. I mean, there was a suicide that's central to the first season story. The second season opens up with the characters still like spread apart a bit. 2 of the girls like are making their road trip to California to find a better life. That goes all sideways. There's a really, really funny hitchhiker scene that I was crying. And then, you know, they really get into some of the weird stuff because there's also the spirit guide. He didn't go anywhere. He's still there. That guy's hilarious. And then I don't know. It's a good show still. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's still a solid show. Recommend seeing it. It is an all native cast and all native, I believe, like direction and writing as well. So
and it looks like the whole thing shot on a res too. If I were a betting man,
it does appear to be shot on a res. But yeah, another great example of native stories being told finally on Hulu. So good job, Hulu. I don't know what to say about that, but good job. That's all I've been watching. Everything else I have to talk about is video game related. I don't know if you guys still play Mario Kart, but if you have the expansion pass, which is just like the more expensive monthly Switch Online, you know, you get access to N64 stuff. You also get free. Sometimes they'll give you free like expansions for games. I know Happy Home.
The big Animal Crossing one was a part of that.
Yeah, Happy Home Decorator is free there. They recently did another free one that was big. I forget what it was. But right now, the Mario Kart Booster expansion pass, they're releasing 8 cups, right? They're doing them 2 at a time. 2 were already out. 2 more came out like this past week. And man, they're really cool. They have some good ones on there. They have the train level from N64 on there, which was one of my favorites, Calamari Desert. They also have Waluigi Pinball was one of the levels. That was pretty cool. You're playing in a giant pinball cabinet. They have a lot of. They had two that I can remember from the phone game Mario Kart Tour. They had New York and they had Sydney. And then they also had some original, like, brand new tracks. Like, they had this one where you're, like, flying around ice cream cones and stuff. Me and Jen played them, like, before we did the podcast. Played through both cups. They were challenging. They were fun. And there were some, like, retro hits. Like, I remember one from an SNES game, Mario Kart, that was brought back a lot of fond memories. But, yeah. So, worth checking out if you're a fan of Mario Kart. They're releasing new tracks right now. I don't know if you're aware. This next one is one, I'm not going to mention it. I'm just going to mention that I bought it and played it a little bit because I didn't get enough time with it to form an opinion. But Digimon Survive, which was a game that was, like, rumored to be coming out for a long time. It's supposed to have, like, slightly more adult, like, you know, people can die kind of theming. Like, it's not necessarily a kid's game, but it is a Digimon game. You're in, like, a summer camp. Things go awry. Digital world, blah blah blah. But it is a turn-based tactics, like, grid game, like much like Final Fantasy Tactics. You know, you have your Digimon, and if you get it within the first month, you get a couple extra free Digimon. I got it. I haven't gotten to play it enough to form an opinion. So far, it seems like a pretty deep strategy game, so I'm pretty excited. The next thing I want to talk about in the game world, I don't know if you guys are aware of this. Netflix has games now. Did you know that? If you go...
I did know Netflix has their gaming division that they've been trying to get into for a while. I'm not even sure how you access it, do it. If you go on to Netflix right now on your phone, maybe on tablets too, any mobile device where you can play app games, Netflix has a game section, and a lot of them are things you would expect, like the Stranger Things games. You can download them. You don't play them through Netflix. They give you access to download them for free through the App Store, essentially. One of the games I was really surprised by, because it's a game I love, I've never talked about it on the show before, though, I don't think, Into the Breach, which is a turn-based strategy game. I would almost say it, like, has some puzzle elements to it, in where you're trying to save Earth from an insect invasion, but it is also a roguelike, because every time you fail, your pilot ejects from the entirety of reality into the next reality to try to save that one instead. Really sick. You get 3 mechs. They have pre-built teams in it, where, like, it's like this guy, but you can also do custom teams when you unlock certain mechs. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty deep strategy in it. Very difficult game. But the reason I bring this one up specifically, I saw it on the Netflix thing. I was like, man, that would make a killer anime for Netflix to make. So I got really excited about that potentiality. But yeah, Netflix has games now. You can download them for free, including Into the Breach. If you like strategy games, turn-based games, it's free if you have Netflix on your phone. Like, that's what I'm telling you. They also had a bunch of other ones that were actually solid, full games that I was impressed by. I was like, oh shit, that's a pretty decent list. Free with your subscription. If you have, most people have Netflix. I don't know, like, it's on your phone. Go ahead, go play some games. Recently, so this is Jenny's, like, all-time favorite game franchise, Overcooked. Have you ever played Overcooked, Drew? I have.
Have you played it, Gary? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
oh, yeah.
Overcooked is one of the best multiplayer games, one of the best party games. So fun to yell at each other about needing rice. Like, I need rice! What are you, like, getting angry at somebody because you don't have enough rice and yelling in your living room is fun. Like, part of the fun me and Jenny have is actually me yelling at her. She thinks it's really funny. But Overcooked All You Can Eat Edition is all the content, including DLC from Overcooked 1 and 2. All of it. All the content, one game. It gives you, like, the full roster of every costume for every chef, too. Like, everything all in one. That's why they call it All You Can Eat. Overcooked's a great game at home. If you haven't tried it, check it out. All You Can Eat Edition is a great way to get into it. And then the last thing that I played, I've been doing a lot of video games this week. The last thing I played was with Gary. We got on Xbox Game Pass Plant vs. Zombie Battle for the Neighborhood specifically. There's like 9 different Plant vs. Zombie shooter games. This one was really cool. I was joking with Gary that this is just better Overwatch, because it kind of is. Like, it plays just like Overwatch. You know, you pick your class and you're doing very similar objectives, but it's better than Overwatch, because Overwatch is overrated and shitty now. That game was fun, man. I really like the imp class on the zombie team. You're like a little guy with like little pew pew. You're like you go gank people behind lines, or you can summon your mech and then just really go to town on people. Surprisingly good game. Like, I wasn't sure how to feel about it. Even like the single player stuff was pretty fun. If you have kids, I say like that's a good game for them, man. It's free on Game Pass right now. It is child appropriate. And it was fun. I liked it. You could play it with your kids. I'm not sure if there's couch co-op. There might be, though. I think I saw an option to have somebody join in.
There is couch co-op, and you can play the couch co-op online.
Excellent.
So you can split screen play online with your family. Yeah, it's completely family appropriate. Cartoon violence, really funny music that just makes you laugh out loud. When you complete objectives at the end of the map, instead of just saying which team wins, there's always kind of a funny, cute cutscene. You know, for someone who was a fan of VeggieTales growing up, right? Imagine all the fun of VeggieTales with all the horrible Christian values stripped out of it.
Were you here? Did you hear Drew talking about VeggieTales before the pod?
No.
Me and Drew had a whole thing about VeggieTales.
I sang the entire theme song to Jahan.
And then I said a bunch of wildly offensive stuff about Christianity. But hey, we'll leave that off.
That sounds like stuff that you guys would do. No, VeggieTales goes hard. Yeah, no, VeggieTales is awesome. So imagine VeggieTales with guns versus zombies. Yeah, now you're in the right headspace. Yeah, that's Battle for Neighborville, and that's a great one. And I think it released in 2019, but it had support all the way up to 2021, and it's done very well. So I'm sure EA will make another one, knowing how EA is. But they could also ruin anything at any time, because that's how
they roll. They're the Warner Brothers of video games.
Speaking of Warner Brothers, thank you, Jahan. I was going to try to figure out how to get there. The new Harley Quinn Season 3 show is out on HBO Max.
It's out?
Yeah, I know everyone's a big fan of the Harley Quinn cartoon. Season 3 is out. And it looks like the whole season dropped at once on HBO Max.
I need to go watch that.
I started watching it. Very funny. More of the same. I mean, you know what to expect by Season 3.
I've still yet to see something funnier than her accidentally giving somebody cancer with a super science gun. That was the height. That was the height of comedy for me. I'm gonna go home and spend time with my kids. Like, so good.
It was a really welcome change of pace. Like I had told you, I had just watched Suicide Squad because I had to. And then to be able to turn around and watch the Harley Quinn cartoon was like such a breath of fresh air. It's violent and it's raunchy. It's certainly not appropriate for kids. It is an HBO cartoon comedy for adults. If you haven't checked out Harley Quinn, you should. It's more of the Harley Quinn distance from Joker character. I like the independent Harley Quinn. I'm not a big fan of the Stockholm Syndrome slave to Joker type of.
Oh yeah, apparently there was a whole thing with people who were like, we want to see a relationship arc with Joker, and the creators were like, that's never going to happen in this show. So don't worry, she's not going back to him. She's a strong, independent woman.
Yeah, and I love this version of Harley Quinn, and that's the one we're getting in the movies too. And I'm just glad that, you know, this character was invented on the 90s cartoon show. So we have gotten to grow up with this character. And we are watching Harley Quinn as a character evolve. And I like this version more than the version we were given in the beginning. I like this. I like the show. I like what we're seeing. For video games, I only have one, and it's Rogue Book. I picked it up on sale. It's a roguelike deck builder. and I'm a roguelike deck builder guy. You guys know that. Roguebook was designed by the guy who designed Magic the Gathering.
What?
Something, yeah. And so it's his take at a roguelike deck builder. I don't know what to say other than it's, you pick a character. The whole thing's storybook themed. So you pick a character, and then you pick your second character. You have a front guy and a back guy. You have attacks and defenses. If you throw a defense, your back guy will go to the front because he's defending. So whoever's defending goes to the front. But whoever's attacking can attack from front or back. As you progress through the story, you're opening up hexagons around you, empty hexagons, and you're trying to get to the end of the chapter. So when you open those up, you can choose to go and do extra fights or try to buy treasure, or you can go straight for the boss fight without getting any more cards or treasure. Just like every good roguelike game, the more you play, the more cards you unlock. The more you play, the more passive artifacts there are to make your deck build stronger, like vamp hits that give your character's life back or ongoing damage. Roguelikes just, they're always developing, they're always changing, and you almost have to change your strategy on the fly.
But is it good?
Yes, it is good. There's a character who summons frogs. You can summon 10 frogs a turn, and the frogs just do 1 damage at the end of your turn. I made a frog deck build that whenever you summon frogs, you summon twice as many frogs, and then whenever you do damage, you summon frogs. And every turn I would summon 10 frogs. So I would always summon 20 frogs, and then I had an AoE attack that would summon like 36 more frogs. And so by the end of the game, the end of the run, which I did beat, I had like 350 frogs out for the boss fight. Super fun. Roguelike games are sort of meant to do that. If you can find a tactic that really works and get all the cards that work, you're going to win that run. And that's sort of the fun of a roguelike. It doesn't happen often. You'll lose a lot. But when you dump 254 frogs on a boss, and every turn they're taking 200 damage and can't do anything about it, that's when you really have the fun.
That's when you're playing roguelike. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I speak for everyone when I say that's a lot of frogs, Gary.
And I couldn't help but reference Alex Jones the entire time. I was like, I'm turning the frogs gay.
Turning the frogs gay.
So yeah, it was a good time. I had a blast. If you're into roguelike deck builders, keep an eye out for Roguebook. I know it's been on Steam, it's been on PC for a while. Now it's on Xbox.
And if you like terrible lawyers, check out the Alex Jones trial.
Oh, man. So, speaking of terrible lawyers, Jahan, I've been stuck watching local TV, right?
Oh, God.
So, when you're stuck watching local TV, you get local lawyer commercials. Mm-hmm. And so, I now know that if I get into a motorcycle crash...
No, sorry.
If I get into a motorcycle crash in northern New Mexico, I need to call the Law Tigers. That's what I know. That's what I've learned. And that's all I have is I'm out on the Law Tigers of New Mexico.
It's a good place.
What a great note to end on.
Oh man, yeah. Thank you everyone for listening to Fresh Out the Podcast, episode 58. I've been Johanan at RockTag on Twitter. Hit us with hashtag the Law Tiger on Twitter. Yes. Yeah.
It's me, Casualty CDG, and it's been a pleasure as always. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for being here. Thank you for joining us. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your students and your enemies, and tell that homeless guy outside your window that you don't want to make eye contact with. Look over there at him. Look at him. Roll down your window. Yeah, he's going to think you're going to give him money. Go. Look, hey, Fresh Out the Podcast as soon as the light turns green, and then get out of there. All right. Thanks, guys.
Fresh Out the Podcast does not advocate for the teasing of homeless individuals.
I am Drew Munhausen at Drew Munhausen on Twitter. And as they've said, this is episode 58 of Fresh Out the Podcast. Thank you for listening.
Stay fresh.
Stay fresh.
You stay fresh.
You stay fresh.